Welcome back in on this glorious Tuesday, April the 21st, the 40th day with no sports. But wait, there is some sports news. The Memphis City golf courses, the public golf courses, are going to reopen. How about that? There's a little bright spot for all of you. Mickey Barker, who is the man who is over all of the public golf courses, will join us at 4:30 to talk more specifically about it. They will not all be open every day, but there will be at least one open every day. I'll go over all of that in a little bit. You will not be riding, walking only, with the allowance of pull carts that are your own. If you've got them, you can use them. And we'll find out prices and things of that nature that will come your way at 4:30. We've got a very busy show for you today. We've not been able to really get our finger on the mental health aspect of this pandemic, and here we are into our sixth week of doing this without sports. And the bottom line is we've had politicians on, we have had healthcare professionals on, we've had economists on, we've had reporters on. We've not had a psychologist or a psychiatrist on. And Frank Masur, who is really renowned, has written books, is a lecturer, is a coach, and obviously works as a psychologist as well, doing a private practice. He will be with us at 3:30. I think it'll be interesting. As always, on Tuesdays, we go to see our friend and visit with Brent Beard down in Jacksonville. I mentioned Mickey Barker at 4:30. At 5 o'clock, Bo Marchand, collegetopro.com. And we got stuff to talk about, the craziness that happened yesterday in their mock draft, if they've got all those glitches worked out, and what we will see Thursday night with the draft. Bo will join us at 5, and then, of course, 5:50 is crunch time. To Forest City we go, to the avenues of the Americas, and our friend Brett Norsworthy. How are you today?
I'm well, Dave. Good afternoon. Day 40, as you said, without sports. 51 days until the Charles Schwab. Boy, I can't wait till June. Can't wait till June 11th on that Thursday when we get, if and when we get to that. 129 days until college football is supposed to start. 106 days until the Hall of Fame game in Canton, OHIO. Hope we get to both.
I hope that happens. I know we're going to get Charles Schwab.
After the draft, you know that?
Well, because there's not going to be crowds, and they've really come out and made that statement, the only thing I think that would shut that down from happening would be the state of Texas saying we're not allowing gatherings of more than 10 or 20 people or whatever it may be, because even television crews and all the players and caddies, that has to constitute at least a couple hundred people minimum. So,
bet you Coca-Cola right now they don't play.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take that bet just because I want to take that side of it. But I would not be shocked.
And I hope you win. But
well,
when you see the PGA of America today, considering what they're considering for the Ryder Cup in September, in late September, I just don't know that we can bet on anything other than today is Tuesday, April 21st. I mean, everything is so very volatile, and the news breaking that Louisville has furloughed coaches and will cut their athletics department budget. Boise State has furloughed coaches. Really, anybody in the Boise State University system making more than $40,000, they've been furloughed. And Boise State just refinanced all their stadium construction with basically a 30-year mortgage. That's how they did it.
I know.
They went and borrowed the money. They didn't float any tax money. And I'm sure there's some bank there in Boise that wants their monthly payment every month.
I will tell you, when you first told Drew, because I had not seen that story, so I had to Google it, about Boise, and this goes beyond just football. We got to have Paul Rogers on one of these days just to visit with Paul, but in Louisville. But
well, we would have had him on a week from Friday.
I know we would have, and we should probably. That's when we should have him on anyway. But
that's when we should, yeah.
But the story about Boise Every employee over $40,000 is getting furloughed for a period of time. I saw the Gannett newspapers, and there was a tweet, and a guy that's been a guest on this show, Dan Wolken. Dan tweeted out that he is out until April 27th. He's not even going to tweet because he's been furloughed by USA Today, which obviously is a Gannett paper. So they are going through rounds of furloughing, and it is crazy. And besides just the governmental things about the Schwab, the other aspect is, as hungry as those players may be to want to play, there are going to be a percentage. I don't know what it is, but there will be a percentage of players whose wives or mothers or you name it will be going, are you crazy? You're not going to go travel and play golf right now. You're going to have to hand you back and forth to the caddy. You know you're not going to be able to keep 10 feet away from the competition. You're going to have interviews that you got to do afterwards. You think you can social distance. There will be a percentage of players that go, it's not safe.
Yeah, and about the equal number will be, I'm hungry and I need that check and I'm going to go there.
Yep, I agree. I don't know what the percentages will be. I think your angle of it, that will be the vast majority, but there will be some of those that
I got one shot to live my life.
Right. Well, and there are those that may go, look, I don't really need the money.
I got one shot to live my life, and I don't want to jeopardize it.
Yeah. And I think I can hang out for a year if I have to.
Yeah. If you're sitting comfortably, David. But eventually, this story, it's going to impact everyone. It's going to impact the Titans. It's going to impact not the Tennessee Titans, the Titans of industry, captains of industry. It's going to the hourly line worker, the person that 6 weeks ago was pretty comfortable and sailing along with the good life, like many of us were. It's going to eventually impact us all. I know it's very easy right now. Look, everybody likes saving money at the gas pump and going, yeah, let that gas price plunge. Let it go to zero. Let me pull up to the gas pump and it's 1975 again and it's 75 cents. But there's serious repercussions with that. You may not feel them today. What if it got so cheap that the gas people said, I'm tired of delivering. I can't make anything at that. And then when you wanted it, you can't get it.
Well, I'm just worried about a false sense of security, and opening up as the governor announced yesterday, and that does not mean that Mayor Strickland will go along with all of that. I know Steve Cohen, who is going to join us tomorrow at 3:30. He is against the governor opening up too soon. Kevin Kane, who will join us on Thursdays on that task force, he and I were talking today, and he is of the belief that, well, it may not happen on April 30th, but it certainly could happen by May 15th, because at some point we have to right ourselves. And it's interesting because last week, Brett, you and I talk about the market a little bit and some stocks and all that other stuff, and I must confess to you, I felt when we got the 24,000 again on the Dow that, well, now we're settling in now. Maybe we're turning a corner. Maybe it'll get up there back to where it was, 29, then maybe get to 30,000 points. Wouldn't that be something when we're over this? And then, of course, since then, it's lost another 1,000. Today it's down 631 at 23,000. So you just, I guess, have to take it day by day. That's the only thing you can possibly do.
That's it. That's the only way you can really kind of compartmentalize all this is day to day. I think right now you can't be thinking about what your July plans are, what your August plans are. Dave, I really hate it for y'all. Y'all were preparing for a May wedding. I've got a good friend of mine in Little Rock whose only daughter had a house full of boys, finally had a baby girl. They were going to have their dream wedding, or I don't know who was more excited about it, the bride or the mother, as often is the case, and they're still going to have the event. But, it just so few things will be as attended and have the feel that it would have had last year or 6 months ago or in the past. we're really having to struggle with that. And I'm looking forward to visiting with Frank Masur, because everybody has had to have. If you haven't had some anxiety the last few weeks, man, I've never played a hand of poker in my life, but I wouldn't want to start playing against you if you hadn't had anxiety the last few weeks, because everybody has had that. Everybody's done at least one or two rounds through a potential budget and a side budget, and exactly how things will play out, and nobody really knows. Baseball, another good case today. Baseball talking about a lot of managers and coaches potentially could be laid off May 1. May 1's a week from Friday.
Isn't that crazy? They're also talking about a third state now in a deal, and coming up on top of that, I got a minor league baseball story. So we are busy in that way. Everybody is affected. Brett, I do think we had to bump our daughter Brendan's wedding to a year from now. So we delayed it a year, and thank good. I'll be honest with you, we had toyed with the idea of just waiting till October. I'm really glad we didn't do that, because we'd be anxious as could be.
There's not any clarity.
But when that wedding occurs, there will be joy. We will.
Oh, heck yeah.
Feel the same way we did. I feel sorry for you. You've got a newborn child. It's a nephew, right?
My nephew's child, yes.
Yeah. Your nephew's child. So you're are you a great
I don't know what
uncle?
I am. We can't figure out what it is.
I think you are. You're a great uncle. God.
Whatever it is.
You're old, man. A great uncle.
Well, I knew that. I looked in the mirror. I knew that.
But the bottom line is, and I know you're zooming.
I haven't seen him yet.
But you've yet to see your great nephew.
I'm getting ready to have a niece, a great niece in Memphis any day now, and it'll be a while before I can see her, just for safety's sake.
Right.
Because you're scared of who you've been around. With that, and let's see how good y'all are. Drew, you jump in too. To this date, what do you think the word of the year is in 2020? Word of the year.
Word of the year.
You mean like word used the most, or?
I'll just
however you want to judge
without
it.
defining it, I'll say surge.
That's not what I was thinking, Drew.
Corona?
Here's mine. Asymptomatic.
No. Well,
How many times have we heard that? Wow, and now we may all be.
Well, that's why we need these tests. You realize we've got 4 million tests, but we've got almost 400 million people, so we're not close.
Well, I don't know that we could. I don't know there's a test that we could manufacture that every single solitary person pass it, and then we're going to do it again next week. We can do it 800 million times.
Well, no, my point is just to know if you've had it, and then you've got some immunity. Or you could start giving plasma for treatments if that.
But what if 3 weeks
works.
later it manifests and you have the virus?
Well, my point is, if you've had it and it shows, then you should not have it again.
That's not always the case.
Well, every doctor that we've had on has said there's at least a year of immunity, unless you've seen a story that I have not, which is very possible.
I've seen plenty.
Every
I told the story yesterday about people that have had it and gotten over it and had it again.
Well, I got to find that story.
I mean, I don't know how you line up and test 400 million people for anything.
No, I don't know how you get the supplies to have that many tests. That's part of the issue, especially when you've got to start manufacturing them right now.
It feels like you've had it and it didn't materialize. You had it and you got sick and you got well. You had it, you got sick, and you were very, very, very ill, and you may have passed. I mean, it feels like the number of asymptomatic people just could be in a larger majority than we ever dreamed. And if that's the case, wow, 44,000 people, that is a stunning number. It's not the number I had in mind on the day after Rudy Gobert. My number, I thought it would be around 250,000 people, because, the modelers were say it started at 2.2 million, then got down to 600,000, then worked down to 400 or so, and then the 100 to 240. if we have that many asymptomatic people and we've had 44,000 deaths, I don't know if it's a win, but it's not the loss that we sure could have had.
Absolutely. If those numbers alter,
I don't know if it's worth celebrating, but it's certainly worth.
We could look for something to celebrate.
Being glad.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I don't know if we tear the goalpost down.
But the bottom line is there are some medical people that are deliberating with the governor of the state of Tennessee who's decided that he can end the safer at home on April 30th. So he must feel some sense of security in that regard. That's a win. The mayor himself.
Are you going to go to a restaurant
no.
the first night available?
No, I'm not. I will tell you that right now. And here's the question that I always ask people. Would you send your child out to a ball game, to a restaurant right now, as we know, and we haven't even peaked? See, that's the thing that worries me, is that all the models
Well, I
say
probably
the peak
wouldn't do
is
that,
not
but the first night I can go out to a restaurant, I'm going to. Unless I'm feeling bad and I'm afraid I could harm someone else, I'm going to go.
My thing is I will continue to do pickup because I want to support them, but I am not certain yet. I think it's too early for me, and I'm now in the category where, if you're over 65, you are at the greatest of risks, even though I can tell you I feel really, really healthy. But I will be on the conservative side of that. And again,
I don't think I want to go to Grand Central Station and go to a restaurant in New York City.
Right. Well,
again, you get that sickness map out at Reuters, that the Acela corridor from Washington to Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York to Boston. Man, that is the hottest of hot spots in the world.
I would tell you, and that's the tricky thing about this state when the governor's making his decision, and that's why the larger counties will be checked and balanced by the mayors of the area. But if you're in a rural area in East Tennessee right now, then maybe it is safe to go to a restaurant there that's at 50% capacity and the spacing is perfect. But that is not true of other areas within the state or certainly the country. That's why it's not only day by day, but it's area by area.
And Dave, I promise you, I do, for many reasons. I respect your decision of your reticence to do that, and I would anybody else's. If you would feel uncomfortable, if you would be at all afraid, and of course, if you were feeling any symptoms you thought you could infect others, or you felt like your immune system was weakened and you were probably prone to maybe something in the air duct or just somebody laughing or sneezing or talking in a place. If you don't want to, I fully respect that. And again, I'm not saying I want to run into a burning building to dine out, but with some sense and a little bit of distance in a place when it opens, when first chance I get, I'm going out.
We get this text, and one part of the reason why is it's a number that I know texts us on the First Bank text line at 67129 fairly often. And this texter says, my 97-year-old father died April the 2nd. Graveside service with 10 people was surreal. And it really it affects all of us.
It does.
In so many ways, and I don't know if this texter is saying that his father died from coronavirus. Doesn't matter. He's passed at 97. I hope it was a great life. It was a long life, that is for sure. And I do send, on behalf of all of us here, our condolences, our sympathies, and our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Well, we do, David, and we have learned. We've talked about the saying goodbye, how that has changed. I'm afraid the days of the large weddings and the large funerals and the large wedding receptions and the large visitation, or maybe even the visitation after the burial at someone's home or there. I'm sorry that might be over, and I'm sorry that only 10 people could say goodbye to him. Now, this is just me, and this is just how I am. if something happened to me today, whenever my service is, it won't be 10 won't touch how many will be at mine, because it won't be any invitation for anybody, because I would want it that small. But a lot of people, to feel comforted, they're not being able to be that way right now, and that's really a shame. We do have a busy show. Frank Masur at the bottom of this hour, and this hour every day indeed brought to you by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Great offers on all 2020 models. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Lexus of Memphis, the high standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
All right, so I got some good news. It's all coronavirus. We'll give you the dashboard in a minute, but I mentioned the public city golf courses reopening, and we'll go over that a little bit later. And again, Mickey Barker will be with us at 4:30. How's this for one? You know, all these restaurants are struggling. Not Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has announced plans. They're opening up a brand new Chick-fil-A restaurant at Summer and Perkins Avenue. So not too far from my neighborhood. How about that? So that's something positive.
It is.
Shelby County now with 1,857, 50 new cases. So we've had under 50 the prior 2 days and 50 this time. So really, it is not as dramatic as it was just a couple of weeks ago. 39 deaths, 1 new death. That was in the sheriff's office to a worker, a gentleman who worked with the inmates at 201 Poplar. The 1 death from the COVID-19 overnight. Tennessee's House Democrats caucus, the Democratic caucus, questioning the governor's decision to lift the safer at home. I guess there will be more discussion on that, but at this point, the governor is going to lift it on April the 30th. 80% of the businesses that have applied for the stimulus money are still waiting for their checks. The good news on that is I do believe they came to an agreement that I think will be signed by the president tomorrow. That was at least the plan that I'd heard. And so if that's the case, a lot of these companies that are waiting for their money will get their money. And then by law, 75% of that has to go to payroll. So those who have been furloughed for a while should, or have had a slash in their pay, should get 8 weeks of full pay. And so that is a good sign, too. So far, Tennessee, 7,070 cases, 148 have passed away. We've had 3,300 recovered. In Mississippi, 4,274 with 159 deaths. Arkansas, 1,781, 39 deaths. Dashboard for the world, we're at 2.5 million, just under 2,459,465, approaching 170,000 fatalities. We've had 652,000 recoveries in the U.S., 771,214 cases, 41,000 have passed away.
My top story, NFL, they had their big events just under the deadline of the virus. Super Bowl got in February 3rd, just in the nick of time. Now the Miami Beach Convention Center where Radio Row was, it's a field hospital. It's been mobilized by the Corps of Engineers for South Floridians, and now the NFL will have their next big event of the calendar year. They'll have it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Then the deadline clock really starts for the NFL and for football, because they've after the draft, the next thing, if they have a miss, never mind OTAs, never mind camp. Next thing they'd miss, it'd be exhibition football games in August.
Yeah. Again, day to day. That's all we can say about anything.
Not top story of the day.
Well, Brett, the minor league, I guess, nervousness that we've all felt, and I don't feel nerves about the Memphis Redbirds going away. None at all. Well, just so I let you know. But minor league baseball today announced that they would be prepared to accept a proposal from Major League Baseball, which will cut 42 minor league teams. In the new deal, Major League Baseball will agree to supplying 120 affiliated teams. 120. So there's 30 teams. That would be 4 affiliated teams per organization. There would be no more short season. There would be no more rookie baseball. Of the 42 teams that would be eliminated, they still have a chance of survival in a new system, but that system has not yet been defined.
My not top story, PGA of America considering holding the Ryder Cup in late September without fans. If we're talking no fans at golf, outdoors in late September, what does that say about football? What does it say about the WGC FES JI in late July? No fans, it would be really sad for all the events. And I just don't know if it will be, it won't be the same, but I just don't know if it'll even be acceptable. If you can't have fans, I think they ought to just bite the bullet, no events, and quit toying with us.
Would you say that for football too? College football?
Yes.
I'm torn on that. And the reason I'm torn on that is the economic model for survival of college athletics is college football. 85%.
I think college football is more hinged on having school, but if you had school and you wanted to have the games without fans, I'd say no.
I would say yes, because otherwise I don't know the college athletics will survive. 85% of the revenues come from that sport. It would be a whole different ballgame if that thing is totally wiped out. And therefore, just to get any of your revenue, and television would still pay for the games that they would show. I would have to say that it would be an absolute necessity to get some games in order to financially survive. Those are our top and our not top stories. We are underway. We have not touched on the mental health aspect of this pandemic in this market around the country. We've got somebody who is outstanding when it comes to understanding our minds and our emotions. That is Frank Masur, PhD. He is next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
The folks at Odor Eaters want to express our deep appreciation for the healthcare professionals, first responders, and essential business employees who continue to do so much to take care of the rest of us. To all of you working harder and longer days, if our products can help make the days ahead a little more bearable, you can find them in stores and online at Walmart, Target, CVS, or other fine retailers. Thank you.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Shelby Forest General Store, Let It Fly, Moon Dance Grill, Great Wines, Germantown Wines and Liquors, Corks Wines and Liquors. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown Commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown Commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking. No telephone pole to get in your way. A cool patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs, Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1 FM, and 87.7 FM. As well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Google or Alexa to play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned to real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stacks. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Cruising through our very first hour on this gorgeous, gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. We have done, in this time slot, I think a thorough job of trying to explore the economy, the health situation, every aspect, education of what this pandemic has meant. We have not touched on the mental health aspect. And so I think it was important we did that, and we have brought in an expert, Frank Masur, Dr. Masur, PhD, who got his degree, bachelor's and master's at Marquette, so we're familiar with Marquette, doctorate in clinical psychology from St. Louis University, did an internship at Duke, worked in the Department of Family Medicine at the Tennessee Center for Health Sciences here, has been a national speaker, has written a book that involves the police and undercover work, and has really been outstanding in working with executives at FedEx, International Paper, AutoZone, St. Jude's, Methodist Le Bonheur, a whole bunch, and is a executive caliber coaching called Excalibur. It is for development of executives. A very busy man indeed, and we really do thank the doctor for being on with us today. So let's start, Dr. Masur, by thanking you for being on with us. And I guess my first question is, how busy are you? It seems that by what is going on around them, and that maybe you are busier than normal.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dave. Actually, we are quite busy, and I think the reason for that is because this pandemic has brought about what I call a sense of dread. And dread, in my mind, is actually a combination of things. It's the feeling of loss or grieving, combined with incredible anxiety or anxiousness, coupled later with depression. And the fact is that we're facing an enemy, if you will, that is impossible to see. It's impossible to understand to some degree. And I think this brings about a sense of real fear or dread, or as some people have referred to it, panic. And I think it's interesting that we use the word panic in the word pandemonium and pandemic. The fact is that we all are feeling a bit panicky right now.
Dr. Masur, you almost just outlined the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I think we've all kind of wrestled with a little bit of those. I don't know if I've really had depression, but I know I've been through some denial. I know I've been plenty mad that my routine's been upset. Kind of bargained a little bit, and I've settled in with the not so warm acceptance at times.
You're absolutely right. And of course, the stages of death and dying came out of Kubler-Ross's famous work back in the 1960s, 69, I think it was, actually. And she was misunderstood in one sense, Dave. She never meant for us to understand those particular stages to be in the order in which she wrote about them. People vacillate back and forth between them. For example, very often people start off with the shock and denial. They just can't believe this is really happening, or in the case of some people, they don't believe it's as serious as it really turned out to be. And then some people go right into anger. Why did this happen? Why did the country allow this happen? Why did our leaders let this happen? Why did the CDC and the FDA not be more on the ball? And so actually people move back and forth between these different stages. Now, Kessler, who actually worked with Kubler-Ross, in fact, was with her when she died later in the 90s from multiple strokes, he added another phase or another dimension, which people rarely talk about, and that is the dimension of meaning. You try to find some meaning in all of this, and sometimes that's very, very difficult to do. If you go back, however, and look at people who actually survived the Holocaust, one of the things that has been found over and over again is that they had some sense of purpose or meaning that mentally helped them survive the horrors of the Holocaust.
How would you steer somebody to meaning from
Well,
this?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think people who are people of faith, whatever faith they may be, find it a little bit easier to find some meaning. I think one of the things that we find meaning in now is that many of the things that we've lost, including our work, our play, and those kinds of things, they start to fade into the background, and we begin to understand maybe a little better that relationships are really key. And they're really key in a number of ways, Dave. One of the things we've known for a long time, and this comes out of some work out of the University of Chicago, Susan Kolbasa's work, that people who are well-connected socially have a health benefit from that. Now, some of your guys may not like to hear this, but guys actually get a health benefit from being married. Interestingly enough, women don't. But guys actually get a health benefit. And when you look at some of the research on men who are unmarried, and that's either remain single, they're now divorced, or even widowed, they don't fare as well health-wise. And one of the theories, of course, has been that because their wife, their girlfriend, their lover is oftentimes the hub of their social connections. Social connections turn out to be incredibly important in maintaining health. And one of the challenges of this thing is that we've been asked to back away from our social connections.
What do you say to people on establishing and keeping the routine, even though it has been very upset, all our routines have, from where we like to go to eat to going to our ball games? Dr. Masur, what would you say for someone to try to maintain or establish a new routine?
I think sometimes it's establishing a new routine, but a couple of things that I think make sense, and they may sound trivial, but they're really not. The person that's working out of their home, I don't think they should be in their robe and underwear. I think they need to get up. I think they need to shower and shave, put on work clothes, go into that office if there is one, and actually set aside some very specific time to do their work, including breaks, by the way. One of the things that this sounds counterintuitive, but it actually is very useful. I've used this a lot with patients, especially people with obsessive-compulsive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. It actually makes sense to set aside time to worry. We call it worry time. And you decide for yourself, how much time does this really deserve? It may deserve an hour. It may deserve 45 minutes. It may deserve even more or less. And what you do is you actually set aside the time, turn off your phone, turn off the radio, turn off the TV, turn off your computer, and actually sit there for that period of time and obsess about this stuff. Now, here's the good news and here's the bad news. The moment you do that, you take control over the worrying. You actually control it. It's not controlling you. The real good news is, as you come to the end of that hour or whatever the time frame is, and you still have more stuff to worry about, you can always remember that you've got another time scheduled, and you can then enjoy the time in between.
We are talking with Dr. Frank Masur on the mental health aspect of the pandemic. A lot of people have talked about this pandemic as another, or this generation's Pearl Harbor, or the new 9/11. Are there any similarities with these catastrophic events?
I think there are, but I also think there are some profound differences. Both Pearl Harbor, of course, and 9/11 were acute stressors. They happened very suddenly. Of course, the ramifications afterwards went on for months, if not years. This actually falls more, Dave, into the area of chronic stress. You mentioned earlier my work with the police department. Imagine the different kinds of stress that the SWAT team has versus the regular officer on the street versus the undercover cop. I would argue that the SWAT team has intense pressure, but it's from time and again. It's not every single day. The cop on the street may not have quite the intensity that the SWAT team has, but he or she has a number of stressors that come throughout the day. My undercover cops, unfortunately, and that's why we wrote the book, they're sort of under stress the entire time they're undercover. And so this is chronic stress. Acute stress is different. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, you're peaked into action. Chronic stress actually wears you down. It's like being nibbled to death by ducks, as one of my officers said, or being killed by 1,000 paper cuts. Chronic stress sets into motion a thing we call conservation withdrawal. You hunker down, your heart rate actually drops, your blood pressure drops, and you actually find yourself almost immobilized. If you think about it in the wild, that actually makes perfect sense for an animal that's been separated from its group. You yell and scream for a while, that's the panicky part. But after a while, if that doesn't work, your best approach is to lie very, very still.
And you talk about the chronic aspect of it, Dr. Masur. So for so many of us, I think for all of us, this story really has been the same story every day for 6 weeks.
Absolutely. And if you go to the work on Marty Seligman and learned helplessness, this is a classic example of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness came out of the notion that if you administered an aversive stimulus, say an electric shock or strobe lights or loud noises to an animal that could not predict it and could not control it, within a matter of a few days, less than a week, the animal began to display symptoms that look very much like depression. In fact, when you sacrifice those animals later and look at their brain chemistry, it actually shows the same brain chemistry changes that we see in people with clinical depression. That's why I think we really need to take time to turn it off. You need a break from it. If you don't, it becomes like, and no pun intended, the Chinese water torture. It's drip, drip, drip on your forehead, and after a while it begins to feel like a sledgehammer. You do have some control. Set aside some time to turn it on. Set aside some time to turn it off.
We are a sports show, and we have talked a bunch about how we miss sports. ESPN just did a whole big thing, a promo about we miss it too. Does losing spectator sports affect people?
Oh, absolutely, and I'll tell you why. I'm not a Freudian, but I do believe one thing Freud had right. He was asked just before he died what made for a balanced life, and he said to work, to love, and to play. Now, Freud was an atheist, so he missed one. I think he missed pray as well. But if you look at play, I think that's one of the most important aspects of human beings' lives. It's cross-cultural. Every culture you've ever looked at, anthropologists have studied, has some form of play, some form of sports, if you will. And the moment we've already lost work, right? We've actually lost a lot of the things we love. You mentioned it a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. We've also lost this sense of play. And whether it's, playing golf or whether it's playing football or watching people play football or basketball or whatever, we've lost that. And that is a real loss that people begin to feel. Not to mention they feel the loss of the identity of their sports team. Remember, a lot of people, when they look at sports, and I saw this when I was at Marquette, I saw it later when I was at Duke, they really identify with their sports teams. And that's not true in all sports, but it's true in team sports. And people really identify with their team. I want my Pittsburgh Steelers to beat your Dallas Cowboys. I really do. The fact of the matter is, though, you take that away, and I know it sounds almost trivial, but it's not. You take away some part of people's identity.
Yeah, we want to be a part of something.
We do. And call it tribal, call it teamwork, call it whatever. Now, I do find it interesting, those sports that are individual sports, like golf, Formula One racing, boxing, whatever, you don't see people dressing up in the colors of that particular competitor. But when it's team sports, we really, really want to feel part of that team.
When we come back, and I feel certain we will. I don't know if that means when a vaccine is found or treatments are found, or we just decide we're opening things up and taking the chance, and I don't know how all that plays off. But when we do, how quickly do we get back to where we once were, if we do, to that normalcy?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I do think, however, that watching sports in a large company of friends and family is going to be probably one of the last things that's going to come back. And one of the questions that I'm struggling with is, what about sports? Could you imagine having a team playing another team with no spectators? I would think that would be very, very difficult for the players. And I think it would change forever the complexion of the game. I think it's going to take a while for us to get back. I hope that we learn from this. The fact is, back in 2006, there was a commission that actually identified many of the risk factors that we're dealing with now. I would hope that that saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I would hope that that actually will play a role here. You know, if you look at successful athletes, and Bob Rotella, who's a sports psychologist, has looked at this, the successful athletes have a couple of things in common. Number one, they have really, really bad memories for bad shots. They remember things they did well, but when they threw that interception or when they hit the ball into the sand trap, they quickly forget about it in the sense that they don't let that influence the next shot. They don't let it influence the next pass. And so he talks about how sometimes having a, quote, bad memory for bad things is actually pretty good. The second thing they do is they don't take it personal. The fact is that, when Brady throws an interception, he doesn't blame it on Tom Brady. He blames it either on his receiver who didn't run the right pattern, or he blames it on the defense who actually stepped in front. They don't blame themselves. They don't take it personally. They also don't make it permanent. They don't stand there and say, I'll never be able to throw a pass again, or I'm a lousy player. You know, Phil Mickelson, the golfer, often talks about that there are birdies in the bushes. And what he means by that is even when he hits the darn ball into the woods, he still thinks he can get a birdie out of that hole.
I think we from the bushes here psychologically can get birdies if we just take it day to day. And according to you, maintain really good social connections, relationships, and we should be all okay. Huh?
I think you're absolutely right.
Doctor, thank you so much. You've you really answered a bunch of good questions, and I hope some people feel a little bit more upbeat after listening to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the help.
That is Dr. Frank Masur, and some critical things there. That was really, really terrific stuff, no question about it. I'll tell you, this portion of the show is brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Now, Ken knows it's a big decision. You're making, if you're buying something, land, and you really want the perfect dream home, he knows the investment you're making psychologically as well as financially. That's why he works with you all the way. Every little detail is important. He understands that. Maybe you're looking for land. He can help you in that regard. If you're got land and it's an old family thing and you really want to build that dream house on, he knows how to make that happen for you. If you want to take that old house you have that you love the location, but you want the modern amenities, I call it renovation with innovation. He's all over that. Go see what I'm talking about. Go to kengarland.com. And again, if you would like a development that's already there for safety measures, there's a new gated community by Boyle that Ken Garland is involved in. The development is called Alaylon. It's on Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes starting at $875,000. Go see what they're all about. KenGarland.com. Then call Ken himself. He's really an interesting guy to talk to. 751-1632. 751-1632. That's the number to Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. We'll wrap our number one on this beautiful Tuesday in 1 minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hi, folks. Bob Burkheimer for Sunrise Buick GMC Truck. A lot has happened overnight and just wanted to let you know we're open at Sunrise for all your automotive needs. Service, body shop, parts, and sales. Go online to sunrisememphis.com to schedule an appointment. Should you need a vehicle, we're offering 0% up to 84 months with deferred payments up to 120 days. You can shop online. We'll bring the car or truck to you. At Sunrise, we know you want to feel safe, so bring your car or truck to any Sunrise location, and we'll disinfect it at no charge. Sunrise, stress-free and safe. Covington Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area in any condition. And yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in as we wind down hour number one on this Tuesday of Sports Time. That was really interesting stuff with Dr. Frank Nassour. That should be up on our website. If you only heard part of it, you want to hear more of it, or you do know that in that 3:30 slot, when it comes to the newsy stuff that we've been doing, we replay it at 5:30. There is some news that's breaking right now. Interesting, and this will be great to talk with Bo Marchand at 5 o'clock about. But apparently there has been a proposed deal out there between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots. The Patriots would send to Tampa. This will be good for TJ tomorrow, too. Gronk, yeah, you heard me, Gronk, and a 7th-round pick to Tampa for the Bucs' 4th-round pick. So Gronk out of retirement to play with Brady in Tampa? Wouldn't that be something?
It would be, and we'd love to get Bo's first swing at it today and get TJ more in depth tomorrow if he can discuss it, if he's not embargoed by the Buccaneers front office with him being an employee. We sure don't want to hurt him there, but we'll get to visit with him about a lot of subjects. But Gronk in the WWE, that was short-lived.
No, well, yeah. I think the WWE is a little harder than most people think.
Oh, no question, Dave. No question it is. I mean, that athleticism, that choreography, and not just that stage presence and to be able to be that type of star, but to do that, I've never ever doubted. Now, some we may have saw studio wrestling, maybe not the case, but I don't think Tommy Gilbert was that some finely tuned athlete. But it does take that. It does take some stagecraft, and that's what I've always said about I don't know in the history of Memphis after Elvis if there's been a better stage presence, stagecraft guy than Jerry Lawler.
I agree with that. And Jerry is still working it. I mean, Jerry
entertainer
is unbelievable because he'll still wrestle on occasion, and he's 70, and he's back to doing that Monday Night Raw every night. And there's a lot of travel involved in that, and that's the interesting thing. I read this interview with Ronda Rousey, who really was a great, legitimate first female superstar of UFC. And she lost a couple of times, and her era of invincibility was gone. And I think it blew her mind, and she decided that was it. She didn't want to do it anymore. She was also a bronze medalist in judo. So the woman is a legitimate athlete, great athlete, good looking. And the WWE gobbled her up. She did it for a year. She was on the road for 200 nights. 200 nights. She
That
said that
can't be
just
easy
that
to
just
do anything.
wore her down. She couldn't do it anymore.
I mean,
she said the only way she would ever continue to do any work with the WWE now would be on a part-time basis. If you're a full-time wrestler, you are booked.
And Gronk returning, what can it do? Can it help his legacy? I mean, he's going to walk into Canton. Now it's going to delay his clock into Canton. It's going to restart it. Could his legacy be hurt? Because I have said I think Tony Gonzalez is the best tight end ever, but Gronk's in the conversation.
He's there. We go back. John Mackey was unbelievable.
He was the first.
I had
Ditka.
I was just going to say I had a lot of partiality toward Mike Ditka, but I think you're right. I think Gronk is up there.
There's been many,
and I think he's going to be. I think he'd be in. I don't think he can hurt his legacy if he comes back and it doesn't work out. He'll just say he was too old. He shouldn't have done it. It'll be 1 year, and they'll all go back and reflect on what he did in New England. And if he doesn't. It's just another example of why he's the greatest and should be in the Hall of Fame.
But you know who came back and had a really good year this year, and we will visit with his agent and many others' agents tomorrow. We'll visit with Jimmy Sexton tomorrow. Jimmy represents Jason Witten. Jason Witten came back this year and had a great year.
Sure did. He absolutely did. He was a much better player than he was an announcer.
He was, and the whole announcing deal. I didn't think it was that bad during the middle of it, and they really tried. They said that they put Joe Tess, Witten, and Booger all together for months doing rehearsal games and had them hang with each other. They thought it was really important for them to have chemistry, and I do too. Now you can do well together and hate the other guy or the other people with you, but it makes it so much better when you really like the other person, or at minimum have some respect for them. And they threw them together, and they really wanted them to make it together, and they all hit it off pretty well. I don't know why it didn't go over so much, other than I think in this Twitter world we live in, we could rerun Dandy Don, Gifford, and Cosell, and the Twitter sphere would find something wrong with it, because they can find something wrong with the sun setting.
Well, you're right. You can't please everybody. There's no doubt about that. But
you can't please any of them.
But here's the thing. I don't hear that kind of consternation about Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. I don't think there's
Chris Collinsworth catches it. Oh, it's brutal. During a Sunday night game, you just type in Chris Collinsworth in the search bar on Twitter and blah.
I think the guy's terrific. Here's my thing.
I do too.
If I took Booger McFarland when he was doing that other role, I liked him. When I take Joe Tess before he was a Monday Night Football guy, I thought he was incredible, and I think he's a great boxing announcer. You put those two together, or the three together, because I really don't have a feel for Jason Witten. I only saw him in that particular vehicle, which is tough for him because, they thrust him a little like Tony Romo, who thrived,
right from the field.
But they put him in the top position they could right off the bat. And
Dave, that's another thing that hurt Jason Witten. He was compared to Tony Romo, who was hitting 575-foot home runs, while Jason Witten was kind of a slap hitter.
And the truth is that chemistry just wasn't good. It's again, if you take the sum of the parts, each part was okay. Put them together, and it doesn't work. And
you could put a broom with Jim Nantz, and he'd make it sound good.
Yeah, Jim Nantz is. Look, you don't do it as long as he has, unless you're really, really special.
He made Lanny Watkins sound good.
I liked Lanny Watkins. I thought Lanny got the raw end of that deal, but who knows what CBS does to get rid of Gary McCord and Peter. I hear Peter Costas is not the nicest guy in the world, but come on, I don't think their broadcasts are bad. Well, who knows? We haven't seen them, have we?
Hadn't seen him since March.
No, that's right. That is an hour in the books. Coming up, our friend Brent Beard down in Jacksonville. Mickey Barker to follow. Don't forget Bo Marchant. We do have NFL news. We got a lot of other nice little news and notes. Cincinnati and Houston both lost players at the collegiate basketball level this week. We'll tell you about that a little bit later. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include East Memphis Ace Hardware, The Butcher Shop, El Toro Loco on Kirby, Bartlett Small Engines, Spirit Shop Liquor Store, 5 Ash Roofing, Tactical Guns and Ammo, and Wolf Chase Lemon Brace. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
Case IH is a proud supporter of the Mississippi Farm Bureau, and thanks to a membership benefits partnership, Mississippi Farm Bureau members receive a discount of up to $500 on every qualifying Case IH tractor and piece of equipment you purchase. This discount may be used with other promotions, rebates, or offers. So join Mid-South Ag Equipment and the Mississippi Farm Bureau and pocket up to $500 in savings. Call Mid-South Ag at 662-890-3141 to get your discount today.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when the smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Lemon Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Lemon Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
Chase Lim and Brace.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Gorgeous Tuesday afternoon, hour number 2 of the program, and joyous song of Chicago.
Did you get my response back?
I did. I did. We can get one of those two anytime you want.
we can get the other one in spirit. We got plenty in the can.
We absolutely do. That is for sure. News today:
I needed to laugh.
Public golf courses are going to open. Mickey Barker is going to be with us at the bottom of the hour to explain all of that. I cannot tell you how exciting that is. Although, I have done this thing, Brett. I am, I'm in a very big exercise mode. I have been for about the last, since January, 4 months. I've been sticking with it.
You were working hard.
I am, and I still am, and I've since the gym's closed.
I would offer to buy you and Drew soft drinks in the machine, and y'all both would. No.
No, it's water. It's water. But here's the deal. I've got this new bicycle thing. I've gotten into it. And I got this ride where I ride all 18 holes on the cart path at Galloway. Right. Well, that's all going to come to an end now because folks will be playing golf there. I can't do that. I have to find myself a new path.
I hope out of this nightmare for all of us that going forward that we are more health conscious about everything. It very well could be. And it's sad. It's such a custom and a right. And I like a hearty one when I see people. But this is the death of handshaking.
It could be. It could very well be. And for me, that's a very sad thing because I don't believe I ever got to shake. Golf's on my mind now. I never got to shake the hand of Brent Beard. And to Jacksonville we go. We're going to Tampa tomorrow. How are you, Brent?
It's a good handshake.
Well, I am doing good. It's good to be on with you guys as always. I do also want to say the beaches are open here, and the golf courses have been open for a while. Frankly, now, as you know, in Georgia, on the 24th to 27th, they're going to be opening the bowling alleys, the gyms, which I miss mine terribly, and the hair salons. So that would be interesting. The most humorous thing I've seen all day long was the University of Connecticut president getting full of himself at a speaking engagement and saying that current thinking is that likely fall sports will be canceled, except that which can be played at a safe distance. Minutes later, there's a tweet from the school that says UConn fall sports are not canceled, and they're clarifying what he tried to say.
Lord.
With that.
Yeah.
Listen, there are probably a lot of UConn fans. If they cancel football, they'd probably be okay with that.
UConn's supposed to come to Oxford this fall. Did you know that, Brent?
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah.
On the Ole Miss schedule, and we got the news today about Boise State and coaching furloughs, and we got the news about Louisville and the coaching furloughs. And I did this today because we know what the economic impact will be for a lot of these college towns, regardless of what league you're in. Yep. Some a little more insulated to it than others. Memphis more insulated to it because while the University of Memphis very, very important, it's not a college town just around that. It's very vital. But you look at these little bitty SEC places, and I Googled the 14 SEC population. Number one, of course, is Nashville with almost 700,000 people. Number 14 is Oxford with almost 25,000 people. Starkville's 13th with a little more than 25,000 people. 12th is Auburn. Now, I know Auburn and Opelika really together, Montgomery not that far away, but just Auburn proper, it's 12th. What surprised me is I really thought Baton Rouge would be the number 3 or number 2 behind Nashville. Number 2 behind Nashville, it's Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington,
really?
KY. 324,000 people, and then Baton Rouge. But I think LSU could be a little more insulated, Brent, to no college, a little more, not a lot more, to no college, no football, because it's a state capital. It's a state government town. But a lot of these places, it will be tumbleweeds through them with no football and no school.
Well, it would. And for a lot of them, it would be a financial disaster with that too. I know they did a study years ago in the state of Alabama that it was either Alabama or Auburn when they were playing that the people in the stadium and maybe like within 6 blocks of the stadium, if you add all those together, that would be like the second or third largest city in the state of Alabama when they do that.
Yeah, so, and I love that on my list, four teams in the SEC, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama, and Auburn, they have bigger stadiums than the town population.
Yeah, that's a great stat. It really is. But look, I mean, guys, when we've talked about this all along, that this is what the collateral damage with this situation goes. Is if you don't have games, and I do think we will, but if you don't have games, to me, the people that get hurt are as we walk around the stadium, and you see all the ticket takers, the guys who sell Cokes, or souvenirs, or parked cars. I mean, we could go on all day with that. They're the ones getting hurt with this. Among them. So it's so imperative right now that we're able to have football at some point this year.
I don't know what the economic impact is. Maybe you guys have this. I don't know. I know that for the average Power 5 home game, this is taking into account from Wake Forest to Alabama, okay? The average Power 5 home game means $14 million to the school. I have no idea what that would mean to Oxford or to Starkville or to Fayetteville or to Tuscaloosa for that matter. Losing that crowd, what will that do economically to that town? I believe that they would play games without people there just because they need that TV money to economically survive. Now, Brett doesn't believe that. I think they would, but if that were to occur, that does not help. Other than the television crew that's in town, that does not help the economy of those burbs.
There's a USA Today article a few days ago that said Power 5 schools stand to lose on average $78 million per if the college football season is canceled, and that's on average, and that's basically the raw numbers that are involved with it. The Texas A&M president made the statement last week. He said, fans in the stands are great, and that is our goal. But he said the television contracts and the money are the straw that stirs the drink. So regardless of what the numbers are, it's substantial.
And A&M's got to be wondering about the contract they have with Jimbo Fisher with his plunging price of oil. And the same thing for Lincoln Riley, and really the same impact in South Louisiana for LSU's athletics department budget. Let's go to some individuals. We know for the rest of time, barring just a horrible loss of judgment, and I don't think it'll happen, but Joe Burrow's place in LSU football history secure. When he goes back on open dates, when he retires and he goes back for LSU home games, they'll practically put his face on the money in Baton Rouge and in Louisiana. All right, so we know that about Joe Burrow. Brent, tell me, what's Tua's lasting legacy at Bama?
He will, well, let me put it like this. Spurrier at Florida, who celebrated his 75th birthday yesterday, possibly people have argued that the most successful coach at Florida is probably Urban Meyer, but winning not one but two national championships. But the most beloved coach is Spurrier. Now, that might be the case in Alabama with Tua, is that Tua, it's hard to say this, all the quarterbacks they've had, but Tua will easily be one of the most beloved quarterbacks there. And as far as sheer numbers, it's amazing of all the records that he broke. But I'll say this, guys, if he would have come back and played another year and won a national championship, there would have been a statue of him up there with Coach Bryan and Coach Saban.
Interesting. I guess Jalen Hurts. I just keep feeling sorry for him. He gets totally lost in the whole conversation. And I was just reading something, some analysis. I think it was on ESPN.com about they think he's the best decision maker of all the quarterbacks that are going to be in the draft.
He could be.
Timing is everything in life, and the thing that's helped Jalen is the Lamar Jackson syndrome with a quarterback that can beat you with his feet and also with his arm. And now you've got the situation where you want quarterbacks like that, where what, guys, 10, 15, gosh, even 5 years ago, I don't know if Jalen would have made it in the NFL. Now, when you've got people looking for that style of quarterback, it makes a difference. I still say he'll be in the NFL for as long as his accuracy holds out, and it's gotten some better. It's still not too accurate, but the timing in his career has made all the difference in the world with the type of quarterback that he is now.
All right, Brent, we like to throw out if you were at the old-fashioned mall and you had an autograph stand on one end of the mall featuring Tua Tagovailoa and an autograph stand on the other end of the mall featuring A.J. McCarron, you think Tua would have the bigger crowd than A.J.?
Yeah, I do at this point. I mean, although A.J. has national championship rings, and he's beloved too, and frankly, as we mentioned, Jalen is too. I can tell you right now, if Jalen walked in the middle of Bryant-Denny Stadium in an Alabama game, he would get a standing ovation. I don't have any doubt about that. But yes,
right, let me go to another guy.
There was something about Tua character, Christian testimony, good kid that would stop and sign anybody's autograph, winner on the field, one of the most accurate quarterbacks that they've ever seen. The affection for Tua is just frankly unbelievable.
What about Jake Fromm at Georgia? What will be his lasting legacy when he goes back for football weekends at Georgia the rest of his life? What's his treatment?
I think he'll be well received. I think they appreciate what he did. I think a lot of them think, and I would agree with this, he should have come back another year and played. I still say, guys, and I was at the Georgia-Alabama SEC championship game a couple of years ago, and the performance he put on in that game was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in that football game. So he struggled last year for a variety of reasons, partly because of the people around him. Offensive line, wide receivers struggled. At the same time, I think he'd be well received. But I don't know would he be. I mean, he certainly wouldn't have. He wouldn't be as beloved as a Herschel would be, or someone of that nature. But I think they will fondly remember from 5 years from now.
I would say Herschel's probably the most beloved of all time at Georgia, is he not?
Yes.
All time.
Yeah.
Vince Dooley would be in the conversation, I suspect. But
coach, but as player.
Yeah, and
Larry
Munson would also be up there.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes,
autograph stand. Buck Bellew on one end of the mall, or Jake Fromm on the other end.
Bellew. I think
that's 40
Bellew
years ago.
Yeah, even though it was years ago, and a lot of people, your millennials wouldn't, but guys our age would be probably chatting it up with Buck. I think Buck has stayed in that area, done radio, and has been heavily involved with the program. So I think that is some of that, which is interesting. And again, fans remember the rings. I think if Fromm had won a national championship, that would be wrapped up considerably. But he didn't. He would still be well thought of.
I want to go back to Jalen Hurts for one more time here. Since you asked me this yesterday, Brett, I start with you. You asked me how Tiger fans will feel about Tyler Harris when he plays, if he were to, against the U of M with another uniform on. Well, Jalen Hurts left for another school and played at Oklahoma and played well at Oklahoma. You don't think fans will remember that?
No, because what he produced when he was there, he produced a lot more than one NIT appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, and listen,
and he was SEC Player of the Year as a true freshman.
Yes, look, there were many Alabama people who were really hoping. they got in the playoffs, that they would have welcomed that. But what they would have not have welcomed would have been it's what the media wanted is for Jalen Hurts to play Alabama with Oklahoma. But see what is not accurate about Jalen is that he was mistreated at Alabama. That's just simply not true.
He says he
was
wasn't.
beat out by Tua because Tua was simply the better quarterback.
That's it.
Jalen, I've used this word many times, Jalen's still a beloved figure in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, he was beat out because let's face it, Tua's just a better passer.
Tua's better.
Absolutely.
Tua was better. All right, one more autograph stand. I know it would be overwhelmingly. How overwhelmingly, though? Would it only be Tim Tebow seeking Urban Meyer's autograph on the other end of the mall from Steve Spurrier?
I know which one I'd want.
I know which one's better for college football coach.
I'm going to say it would be Tebow, but it wouldn't be as much as people think.
No. Urban versus Spurrier. Urban versus Spurrier.
That's what I thought.
If it's Urban versus Spurrier, it wouldn't be close. See, this is Gator fans appreciate the two national championships, but there are a lot of Gator fans who will tell you that they do not like Urban and never will. And what's so ironic about it is the next guy who will be up for the Florida Ring of Honor will be Urban Meyer. And look, I think he ought to be in the ring because of what he accomplished, not because he was funny and warm and fuzzy in a lot of ways with the fans, as Spurrier is and was.
2 beats 1, doesn't it? He won 2, Spurrier won 1.
Yeah, he did, but Spurrier also won a Heisman Trophy, and Spurrier really. I still think Spurrier's on Mount Rushmore of SEC coaches.
I do too.
And because of that, in his past, and he's always been a Florida guy. Even though he went to South Carolina, all that will be forgiven. But guys, truthfully, the Urban Meyer situation is not forgiven, and it may never will be.
I would tell you, I know it's 2 versus 1, but look where Florida was when Spurrier took the gig.
Yeah.
He also was a Heisman Trophy winner from that school. He also,
but I'm talking about just as a coach. I'm not talking about playing.
He also was a guy who sold the sport at a time when it needed to be sold, and he was as interesting and funny and creative, both on and off the field, as any coach.
All right, there's no doubt he's a gas bag. There's no doubt about that. He's funnier than Urban Meyer. But 2 national championships, and he replaced Ron Zook, who had quickly taken it back to mediocrity, and then he went on as a college coach, not at Florida, but he went on to another job and won another national championship at Ohio State. Spurrier did a great job at Duke in South Carolina, but Urban Meyer did a great job at Bowling Green in Utah as well.
He did. Well,
he's a great coach.
And if you were looking at it that way, 3 rings trump 1.
You asked autograph, and the guy that I'd rather meet is Steve Spurrier.
Okay, I'd rather meet, but then I also ask who is the better college football coach, Urban or Spurrier?
I think you could. I would. In that case, I would say Urban.
I guess I'd have to say.
Then he couldn't be on a Mount Rushmore then, because I assume on your Mount Rushmore is Bear, Saban, the General, and.
Well, to me, Spurrier's on Mount Rushmore because he was a change agent in the league. But besides
he was that.
Championships,
he definitely was that.
To me, this is it's a tremendous question in a lot of ways. And the thing you could also say is Urban is, along with the likes of Saban and other guys, Urban's an elite recruiter. I don't know if you could say that about Spurrier. I mean, Spurrier...
He didn't have to be.
He didn't have to be. Spurrier said, well, you going to be a Gator? or you're not.
Or head on.
So,
go to FSU.
That was his philosophy.
Well,
that was it. There's the door.
And you know what? He was smart enough to change, as you just said. He changed the way the league played.
He sure did.
That Urban Meyer
he was
didn't
a
do
revolutionary.
That. Urban didn't do that. You know what? There's no right or wrong answer here.
Really not.
They are both Hall of Fame guys, and they both will have legacies where they made contributions.
How come that dang Mount Rushmore didn't have 5 heads on it instead of just 4?
Brett, boy,
4 makes it too hard.
All we got to do is commission somebody else to go up there to Dakota and pick up a 5th.
Yeah, but it's a fascinating conversation, to say the least. And again, at 75 years old, to be as popular as he is, and how he has helped people, and what he has done, it just absolutely amazing. I mean, listen, Spurrier's 75 and he thinks he's 25.
Spurrier something.
And my last interaction with him was bad, Brent. We kind of had it out, but the typical Spurrier came over to me just like always. He goes, "You know I was kidding. You know I was kidding about picking those 6-6 teams." I said, "Coach, you used to be when you were building South Carolina's program. You went 6-6. You were proud of it. The Arkansas and Ole Miss are proud of it when they go 6-6 and go to a bowl game when they haven't in a long time." He said, "You know I was kidding." I said, "It didn't sound like you was kidding."
Hey, how many others would have come over and said that to you, Brett, at that point? But I'll say
he never pluralized stats. It was always STAT, man.
Oh, that's
Stat, you know I was kidding. You know I was kidding.
That's hilarious.
My last interaction with him was his last interaction with really a press conference setting. It was at the Liberty Bowl Stadium after his Apollos beat the Memphis, the Express, in a game that the Express got robbed.
But Dave, how cool for you! You went full circle with him from Tampa Bay Bandits at that stadium to Orlando Apollos at that stadium.
I absolutely
That's cool.
And Florida to South Carolina. Yeah.
And listen, guys, 2 things here real quick. If you ask him today, and right now, if you got into a conversation with him within a minute, 30 seconds, he would tell you that his most recent team that won the game you're talking about won that entire championship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He would tell you that very quickly. And listen, I'll tell you this: as much of the success as he had at Florida, he would tell you that easily one of his favorite teams. I don't think it was the favorite, but easily one of his favorite teams was that Duke team that he coached that won the ACC.
Sure.
He is as proud of that team as anything he ever accomplished at Florida.
Brent, as always, we appreciate it. We run out of time. We'll do this again next week.
Can't wait, guys. Take care.
Thank you. That is Brent
Thank you,
Beard,
Brent.
our friend down in Jacksonville. Our title sponsor for this hour of the program is Genesis of Olive Branch, and of course Homer Skelton Hyundai as well. And Chris True is just beaming. They did not let anybody go during this pandemic because they do business the right way. They treat people the right way, and people who still need cars or need work on their cars are still coming there. And there's a reason. They always try to incentivize you to come. 0% financing on new Genesis or Hyundai cars for 84 months. No interest for 84 months. And another enticement, 120 days, 3 months before you have to make your first payment. That's on select models, whether they're a Genesis like my G70 or whether they are a Hyundai. And all these cars are so good. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain on every new car. That's the warranty you get. Every new one. That's why you've got to get on Lamar. It's Highway 78 when you cross State Line Road, and then the very first exit's Craft Road, turn left. You'll see the way car business should be done at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Apparently we got some breaking news that we'll give you in a moment. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Bria's Fashion Boutique is the worst. First, they asked me if I needed help finding anything. Just because I'm gorgeous doesn't mean I need help.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
Then they tell me they're having a sale. Oh, so you're assuming I'm poor. Cool.
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Also, they tried to give me the friends and family discount. I'm not your friend, so...
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
At Ace, we always have been and always will be committed to our local communities because we're here to help others. So in this time of need, your local Ace remains open. And since we're in your neighborhood, we can deliver almost anything you need. So shop in store or online for the home or yard products you're looking for and choose from top brands like Steel, Ego, Toro, and Scotts. Then you can pick up in-store, curbside, or we'll deliver your order right to your door. Help is just around the block. See acehardware.com for details.
I'm Dr. George Flynn, president of Flynn Broadcasting. On behalf of everyone associated with Flynn Broadcasting, we want to wish you good health, especially in this coronavirus situation. You can be the hero. All you have to do is practice social distancing. That's right, 6 feet away from other people, and you'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Also, if you feel ill and have a cough or fever, get tested so you'll know if you have coronavirus or not. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting. We'll keep you connected while you maintain your physical social distance. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station because we're in this fight with you and we're going to help you stay connected.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
And welcome back in. The breaking news that we are getting comes from Fox 13. I haven't seen the total story on it yet, but apparently Mayor Jim Strickland has announced that he will not lift Safer at Home for the city of Memphis May the 1st, like the governor announced the other day. So as we try to get a hold of Mickey Barker. We're going to talk some public golf here. We do get news from a different department of the city that the mayor has determined it is not the time right now to let up on the Safer at Home as the governor did. And we are in different situations across the state. There are some rural areas that are certainly more ready, safer, less cases still going on to lift those sanctions, but apparently that is not the case, according to the mayor of the city of Memphis. So that is some news. While that just broke moments ago, a little bit earlier in the day, we learned the news that public golf would be reopening. The head of public golf for the city of Memphis is our friend Mickey Barker, who joins us now. Mickey, so glad to have you today, and I know you got to be happy. You've got people who have been grooming all these golf courses for the last 4 or 5 weeks without anybody really playing on them. Now, at least all that work will have some fruition to it all. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Dave. Thanks for having me on. Yes. We will finally have a little bit of golf going on at 5 of our golf courses coming this Saturday. So we're really looking forward to that and getting the courses back open.
Mickey, if you would, I know it's Galloway, Audubon, Fox Meadows, Pine Hill, and Whitehaven. I'm guessing Overton Park, Riverside, Davy Crockett, they will remain closed. How long will they remain closed for?
Well, we don't know. We're considering this our phase 1 opening. We're going to open those 5 courses that you just mentioned. The other 3 will remain closed just due to the fact that our staffing at those levels, at those courses, are pretty low at Riverside and Crockett. And then at Overton, obviously the mayor and everyone involved with Overton Park is still not ready to open Overton Park back up. And so in that sense, we needed to keep the golf course closed.
You are
Mickey, will this be full facility or just the golf course itself? Will we have access to clubhouse, snack bar, restrooms?
Right. I can go ahead and get into that. What we're going to do, we're going to open this, what we call phase 1, and those 5 courses will be open. They will be open for walking only. Walking only. We will not be allowing the riding cart, and strictly due to the fact that we don't have the staff nor the supplies in order to sanitize the carts in the way that we need to, in a way that we felt safe. We were afraid that our staff would be run too thin, and that we could possibly not do the sanitizing correctly, and also run through a lot of supplies for that. So we are going to do walking only. The clubhouse will be limited to 1 person in, 1 person out. It will be sectioned off so people can go to the restroom and come back out, and people can go in and pay. At some of the locations, at a couple of our locations, we have windows where they will be able to pay through the window and then not ever have to enter the clubhouse. And all transactions will be credit card only. No cash will be taken.
And you are open every day, but each course is not open every day, right?
That's correct. We will have our course openings, for instance, Galloway and Fox Meadows will be open on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Audubon and Pine Hill will be open on Wednesdays and Fridays, Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All 5 courses will be open Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. This will be phase 1. We don't know how long this phase will be. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be, we just don't know. It will depend a lot upon how we progress and how the mayor, as he opens up the rest of the city and when he does.
So this is walking only. Are you allowed to bring a pull cart?
You are allowed to bring your own pull cart. There will not be any rental clubs or anything for rent like that. Unfortunately, this hinders the folks that aren't able to play golf without a riding cart. Unfortunately, we're just not to the point where we can allow the carts at this point. We hate that. We know it cuts out a lot of people, but from our standpoint, from a city standpoint, we're just not able to offer the carts at this time.
What price?
Look, Mickey, it's where we are, and you're doing the best you can, and we've been through a historic event, and you're trying to get back out where people can have some fun and get back out. Now, I can't wait. If Dave doesn't have his pull cart, he's going to have to carry that big old tour bag.
I have a pull cart, and there's no problem there. None whatsoever.
He never goes anywhere without that pull cart along with him. So.
I do have to ask you, since we are paying, what's the price to walk?
It will, of course, it varies a little bit from course to course, but it will be just our typical greens fee rate. Weekend greens fee at Galloway walking is $27 for 18. At Fox Meadows, Audubon, and Pine Hill, it's $32, I believe, just for walking. And then, of course, we have our 9-hole rates on top of that. Our senior rates that apply Monday through Friday. So all of our standard rates that we always have, which are listed on our website, apply. It's just minus the cart fee.
I should also point out that this is a little bit different. You can't show up, right, and just expect to play. You have to call and get a tee time.
That's correct. I wanted to go over that. We are not accepting walk-ins at any of the 5 locations. So you must call and get an advanced tee time. We will be taking tee times for groups of 2 or larger. If you're a single and you don't have anyone else to come with you, call the pro shop and let them know, and they can put you into another group that has 2 or 3. We are, observing social distancing while we're playing. Only one person on a tee box at a time. We need to stay at least, we stay at 5 yards apart on the putting green. All of the holes will be either raised 1 inch above so that the ball can't go in, or we'll have the whole field with the pool noodle piece that will
Mhm.
keep the ball from going in. There will be no need to ever touch the flag stick. All of our ball washers, all of our trash cans, and all of our sand bottles have been either taken up or taken out of service. So there won't be any need to touch anything. Also, there won't be any food and beverage on site. So for this phase one, you will be allowed to bring your own food and beverage in with you, but
great.
you will need to take your own trash out with you as well.
I guess the other thing is don't come and expect to practice for a long time, right? You've got a policy in place?
Be ready to play.
Right. Be ready to play. We're saying that we want tee times are set up on 20-minute intervals, which is double what we normally are, which creates even more spacing. The problem that we're going to have is that people are going to show up at the clubhouse and go, "There's nobody on the tee. It's wide open. Why can't I go play?" Well, we're keeping that spacing in between groups so that when you get out on the course, we don't have a bottleneck and we have 2 or 3 groups coming up on one tee. So for those people that come and they have a tee time and they show up a little bit early, they're going to say, "Well, why can't I go on and go?" Well, this is the reason. It's because we're keeping that spacing in between groups.
Mickey, I really do. After we get back to normality, whatever that was and whatever we hope it'll be, I really do think it could be boom time for public golf from the yen to get back outdoors, and from the economic point of view, I think public golf will be very attractive to a lot of people.
I think so too. You know, our biggest year in the 20 years that I've been associated with Memphis Golf, the biggest years we had were in that 2011, 2012 time when the economy was so bad. It pushed so many people to our golf courses that we were really booming. And I'm like you. I think once we get back to whatever sense of normal there is, I think it'll be a huge time for us here in the city of Memphis.
Yeah, I'm just excited. So the links at Galloway, the links at Audubon, the links at Fox Meadows, the links at Pine Hill, and the links at Whitehaven will all begin opening up this coming Saturday. But you got to walk the golf course. You don't go until 15 minutes prior to your tee time. And then you got to use a credit card. No cash is going to be involved here. And you've got to get a tee time. So call your golf course before you show up. And I guess you had a test at Whitehaven, although you did have carts there. What did you learn from that test?
We did. We had a nice test last Saturday down at Whitehaven. We were open for 9 holes only, and we did allow carts. And I think that's when we saw that our big takeaway from Saturday was that it took a tremendous amount of staff and supplies in order to sanitize the carts enough for what was ended up being 57 players played that day. So we saw if we took that to an 18-hole course where we might have triple that amount of players or at least double that amount of players, we couldn't handle it. We couldn't handle the amount of carts that were there, and it would drain our staff and our supplies too much. So we felt like the walking was the best option right now.
And to get to phase 2, and you said you didn't know how long this would be, but what do you suspect you have to see in order to get to phase 2, where you open up the other golf courses and you start using carts again?
Well, I think that it really goes along with, in my mind, the governor's opening up the state as of basically opening up the rural counties as of May 1st. And then I think once Mayor Strickland, once we get to the point where he feels safe enough to open up the rest of the city, I think that will go a long way to determining where we are. Obviously, the task force that he has set up and his team knows a lot more about it than what we do in golf, and we take our direction from there.
And the task force is going to present him, to the best of my understanding, on Thursday, their recommendations. And we did just learn right before you came on, Mickey, that he is not opening up the city as of May 1st. That thing will be extended, but we don't know how long. At least I've not seen that story yet.
And we will obviously take our direction from the mayor and his administration to follow these guidelines. And these are the guidelines that he wants us to follow and the administration wants us to follow now. and it's absolutely what we're going to do.
For sure.
We know for a fact that this is not going to be easy on all the golfers. It's going to be, using credit cards, only walking. We understand that it's not ideal, but it is opening and it is allowing some golf. Maybe not to everybody, but it is allowing a good deal of golf to happen in the city of Memphis.
I'm thrilled by it. I'm so happy for you. By the way, I've been riding your golf course on my bike at Galloway. I confess to that today, and I've enjoyed that. I guess I'm going to have to stop by Saturday, but it is in great shape. Are all the golf courses in the kind of shape that Galloway is in?
They are in really good shape. I'll be going around on Thursday and, kind of taking a look and meeting with all of our golf professionals and staff and just seeing where we are going into Saturday. But they are in good shape. Pine Hill is still very wet with all the rain that we've had through the winter and the spring. It doesn't drain well on several of the holes, so it is still very wet. But hopefully we're going to get some drier weather after the storm tomorrow, and we'll be in better shape.
Mickey Barker, who's in charge of public golf, the news today. They are opening the 5 golf courses other than Riverside, Overton, and the Davy Crockett. They are opening Galloway, Audubon, Fox Meadows, Pine Hill, and Whitehaven on Saturday. Hey, thank you so much, Mickey.
Thank you, Mickey.
Sure.
We truly appreciate the breakdown of it all, and I'll see you out on the golf course.
Sounds great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That is Mickey Barker, and that is absolutely good news, Brett.
It sure is, Dave. It sure is. And look, it's the slow process back that's going to be part of it for everyone.
It is.
Recreational or otherwise.
And the truth is, I am sure the mayor has been hearing from people who are saying, look, there are private clubs that are playing. There are courses in Mississippi. Our friend John Goen, who has one, they're playing.
Doing well.
If you're outside of the city limits, you're playing. So come on, we need it too, and the mayor obviously, and he's wise, and he's the guy that has also said we're not opening up the city completely as of May 1st. We're not ready for that yet, but he is allowing this to happen, and I guess we should be thankful for all the little things that we get. We take a timeout. We are back with a wrap of hour number 2 in a minute. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Golf courses are opening. The city is not. The mayor has now come out, according to Channel 13, and said he is not going to lift the safer at home order by May the 1st. More on that story coming as the day unfolds. In the meantime, I told you we had some new little newsy notes things. Cincinnati's big man, Chris Vogt, who I swear to you, Brett, I have no idea how that guy could transfer from Northern Kentucky to Cincinnati. He was a sophomore, so he played his freshman year at Northern Kentucky. He goes with his coach, who comes to Cincinnati from Northern Kentucky. Did not lose his scholarship at Northern Kentucky. He gets immediate eligibility. And Stokes, who was at Florida, loses his scholarship because Blackshear transferred in and basically Mike White ran him out in a nice way. He doesn't get his scholarship. I never understood how the NCAA did that eligibility. But Vogt, who did, he's declared for the NBA draft, so he's out of Cincinnati. And I don't think that's of major circumstances. The Tigers ate him up. He just wasn't very athletic. He was a serviceable guy. He's not going to make it in the NBA. And then Houston lost DeJean Jarreau, who had the best name in all of the American Athletic Conference.
And Houston could really be good next year.
Boy, losing him really does hurt them.
It does. Now, are neither, both? Have they got agents, or will they not pull out of the draft, or are they wholly committed?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I think Jarreau was he's ready to go. Yeah. Vogt may not have.
That's a big loss for Kelvin Sampson, because they had, and it feels like a couple of times, 3 out of the last 4 years, maybe 4 out of the last 5, Kelvin Sampson has had Sweet 16 teams or bust type teams.
Yeah. No, he has. He's had really good teams. And I heard him on a post-game interview this year, and he was just talking about it. He goes, I am really here for the long term. I really want to build this program, and I want to be at least a Sweet 16 team every year. And that really is the way he's going. He's got 2 guys that sat out this year, and then he has all those young guys that were playing. Nate Hinton's going to be a heck of a player. He's got that transfer from Kansas, whose name escapes me.
I just don't know that the city of Houston high school basketball scene is quite what it once was.
No, but he's getting these guys. Hinton, or not Hinton, Jarreau, I think, is from New Orleans. He had a couple of guys that had come from New Orleans. And, once you're up there, and he's such a likable guy that, I think he sells that program. I think they're going to be good for a long time. And honestly, especially now that Connecticut's out of the league, Memphis needs good teams besides themselves in there. Since he's always going to be good. And
Memphis needs to be good first.
Yeah, well, they do.
And because the rest of the league has been competitive. I didn't think it was very good last year. I thought it was pretty good to real good 2 years ago, and really, really, really good, which I guess was the end of the 17 season when Houston had Rob Gray.
Right.
But I didn't think this year the league was that good. NFL Draft, we'll visit with Bo Marchand about it at the top of the hour, and we've gone over quarterbacks in the first round from teams that could be up to draft one in this draft. I'm not doing it for the New York Giants because they're not drafting a first-round quarterback, but I did do it for the Los Angeles Chargers, and it is shocking. in their entire history, they've drafted in the first round a quarterback 3 times.
Well, you mentioned John Hadel the other day.
They didn't draft him in the first round.
But right, they did not draft him. Was that the Bears that drafted him and he never played there or something like that?
Hadel was Washington.
Washington, okay. I remember Hadel came up, and I never knew that. I always thought he was a Charger.
But the Chargers didn't take him in the first round. Here are the Chargers, 3 first-round draft picks. 1969, 9th overall, Marty Domris from Columbia. He was supposed to be the next Sid Luckman out of Columbia. He did not become that.
That was 1939?
1969.
Oh, 69, okay.
Marty Domris. Really, his better years was kind of as a starter after Johnny U and Earl Morrill with the Colts. 1998.
Really? I don't remember. I remember Tom Matty before I remember him being in there.
Well, Matty really wasn't.
I know. He was a running back.
Quarterback.
No. He was a running back.
1998, second pick overall, Ryan Leaf. We know who they took first.
Right.
And we know why the Chargers took him. And then in 2004, first round, the Chargers, they selected Eli Manning and then made the trade, and they ended up getting Phillip Rivers, who went on statistically to be their greatest quarterback ever. But I think their greatest in reality was Dan Fouts.
No question. And they had great years with Eric Coryell, and you know who the center on that team was, don't you? Bob Rush. But Fouts was clearly their best quarterback, and I would say Hadel was probably their second best quarterback. Oh, no. Well, yeah, probably Rivers.
No, Phillip Rivers.
Rivers is second, and then Hadel. Yeah.
Phillip Rivers.
I would go with that.
He's had a great career. It was just not fulfilled with the championship.
Right, and the Eli Manning thing, that had nothing to do with the Chargers. That was the Manning family.
Oh, it had everything to do with the Chargers. It had everything to do with the Chargers.
What do you mean?
They weren't going to let him be. They weren't going to let him be put in San Diego. And look how it played out. The team moves, and they never go to a Super Bowl. He gets with the Giants, and he wins it twice, and he's in New York.
Right, but
the Giants are stable, and the Chargers weren't.
It was the Mannings that said, we're not coming to San Diego. They wanted him.
That's it. He was never going to San Diego.
Right. Be harder to do that now.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I liked it then or I like it now, you engineering the draft, but they did make it work for them because San Diego, most dysfunctional, in New York is one of the IBM franchises. It's rock solid.
Yeah, no doubt. So there is one sort of, well, it's a pro football story. I just had no idea how much money Vince McMahon paid Oliver Locke, but did you see that the former XFL commissioner Oliver Locke, who's by anybody I've ever met that met him or knows him, speaks beautifully about Oliver Locke. But
he was a great AD at a couple places.
Well, he was. There's no doubt about it. He is now suing Vince McMahon in federal court for wrongful termination. He was hired in May of 2018. The lifespan of his contract, I'm not sure how long it was, but the total value of his contract to be the commissioner of the XFL, which is why he left. He had a really good job. Was it with the NCAA? I think it was with the NCAA. It was $20 million he enticed him with. $20 million.
Yeah, good luck. I bet Vince McMahon's not scared at all to be sued. Get in line.
Yeah,
I bet he's been sued by everybody he's ever dealt with.
That is probably true. And that's 2 hours in the books. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we do talk NFL. We talk with our friend from collegetopro.com. That would be Bo Marchant. Stick around.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight. exclusively FedEx. When we put them in nice packaging, we don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Upgrade your commute at Acura of Memphis. Seize the thrill and test drive one of our award-winning models, each packed with cutting-edge technology, luxurious amenities, and a driving experience that's sure to awaken your inner self. Driving shouldn't be a chore, it should be an adventure. Advance your drive today, shop our aggressive lease and finance options now, luxury is waiting at Acura of Memphis, or shop online 24/7, visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Central Barbecue, Sunrise, Sweetgrass, Humdingers, Germantown Commissary, Jason's Deli, Corky's, East Coast Wings, Moe's, and Soulfish Cafe. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Final hour on this Tuesday afternoon. It starts with Bo Marchant from collegetopro.com on all things NFL, and particularly on the draft. That's about 48 hours out, give or take about an hour or two. We're getting close to this draft, and what could go wrong with the virtual draft? They're going to have the run-through. Did not go well. I kind of hope it works like that on Thursday night, but we'll see. This hour brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. At DeSoto Auto Sales, all the cars test-driven, all checked out, bumper to bumper, head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make, every model at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. Visit them online and check out the referrals of all the happy customers at DeSotoAutoSales.com. When you walk in, you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales. They care about your time and want you to have the ultimate car experience. You walk in within 45 minutes, meet with your sales rep, test drive your car, get credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in your new car in less than an hour. They know we're living in a world today that time matters, and they want to keep it simple for you. At DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184, DeSotoAutoSales.com. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
We always love chatting every week with our friend from collegetopro.com. That would be the one and only Bo Marchant. And there's some actual news today. Give me your sense that Gronk's coming back and he's going to go play with his buddy Tom Brady in Tampa, and all it's going to cost them is a 4th-round draft choice, and they're going to get a 7th-round draft choice all in the mix. How did that work out?
Well, I guess it works out if you've played and won several Super Bowls with Tom Brady and you're his favorite target. I'm shocked by the news, to be honest with you, and I'm really not in favor of it. He's been out of football since 2018. He played in the Super Bowl in 2019, but I'm a little skeptic. I'm not going to lie. I don't want this to be a gimmicky type of thing that they're doing in Tampa Bay, but there's a lot that goes into being, arguably the greatest tight end as some consider him. So when you look at what Gronk has to come back to be, it's different. And I'm curious how Gronk will be on and off the field without a guy like Bill Belichick running the team. Bruce Arians a little, loose to the vest, and, you're not going to be such a disciplinarian. That's not going to be, he was accustomed to that. As crazy as Gronk was, he still had that, Bill Belichick figure, looking over him. So, he's going to be 31 in a couple weeks. He missed, a lot of games this last few years. So, it's fun to look at, but I'm very skeptical on how this is actually going to pan out for the Buccaneers. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I was waiting for my buddy.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know that yesterday they tried a mock draft. Apparently, it was a disaster. What's going to happen Thursday, Beau Marchand?
I'm hoping for disaster, Beau.
If there's any disasters that go on Thursday night, the NFL, they're just going to. Roger Goodell and the Shield, they're just going to go through with it, and they'll let the chips fall where they may. Brett mentioned it earlier. It's kind of, you almost hope there is something, a foul and some dysfunction, so just to see how the NFL reacts, because they're just so blatant to anything that goes on. They just kind of move forward, and they don't stop for nothing, and they're not going to ever say they're wrong. They're going to win all their battles, and so for them to put all 32 teams on the clock on Thursday night, and if there's dysfunction and somehow something bad happens where a player should have went to Los Angeles and they ended up going to, Denver, you wonder how that is going to be solved, especially how you're going to solve it within such a short period with the draft, the second or third round on Friday night. So I'm curious. We're all going to be curious. We've all been cooped up. We haven't had sports. So Thursday night, it's going to be a packed house in terms of people tuning into their televisions or their phones or whatnot to watch this thing. But I am a little bit curious. As much as I don't want to see it, there is some curiosity to see if it does go the wrong way, how the NFL is going to react and be able to fix a problem quickly without having to diverse away from the draft and causing long delays and kind of getting caught up in the moment where this could be a debacle for the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday. But we will see. And like Brett said at the top of the show, a little less than 48 hours, give or take.
Well, yeah, we're on. And if you think the Last Dance, and rightfully so, drew the big number that it did Sunday night, wait till Thursday night. People are so ready. I think they will have they'll have people that may have never watched all those picks go off the board. I do hope this. Cincinnati's known for a long time they're the number one pick. I think they've known for a long time the number one pick, they're going to select Joe Burrow. After Roger Goodell says, Cincinnati, you're on the clock, let's be making a pick.
Yeah, I don't know why teams. I mean, you never truly know. As convinced as you could be, there could be, a landslide. Miami has 14 total picks in this draft. I don't think they're going to have 14 picks when it's said and done. I think they're going to move up and move around, but they're holding 3 1s. They have 2 2s, I believe. I think they pick 39th and 56th. So they're armed in the second round as well. So you never know if a team's going to make a big play, and I think that's why we have to just give these teams credit to. Maybe there could be a late thing where, wow, something unfolded and we have to go in that change of direction. But absent of that, it is frustrating when you believe that this is the way they're going to go and, nothing's going to, derail that decision. But and put it this way, Brett, at least it's not like the old days where, what it was like 15, 20, 25 minutes, an hour and a half in between picks. So at least it's a quick, 10, 12 minutes, on TV and, at least you're off to the next pick. So
last week you said, 1, 2, 3, Burrow, Tua, Herbert. I haven't seen a mock draft that's had that. Just so you know, are you sticking with that, Beau Marchand? I'm giving you the chance. It's like, let's make a deal. I'm giving you the chance to change your pick.
I didn't have Herbert going 3. I had him being the third quarterback.
Oh, I thought you had. I thought you had it 1, 2, 3.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I'm glad. Saturday, I'm doing stuff. I get a phone call, and it's on the other end is a source, and they're just telling me these things about Tua, and he's going to slip, and this is coming from a source that and I'm like, it's blowing my mind. I'm not going to lie, guys. He could drop out of the second round, and I'm like. I'm trying to take this in because the person on the other line is a person that I respect. I've worked with before, so I know that, what they're saying is something to take with some validity. So immediately then I have to spend the rest of the day trying to fact check what this person spoke to me. And then as you kind of delve into it, it is far, 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 far from what the first phone call was. He's not going to slip into the second round, and it's not a doomsday. event for Tua Tagovailoa. But I did hear that there are some ex-general managers out there, doing some, kind of being shady to help their former, teams. And the more I got caught up into it, like, I didn't really know, but I do think Tua will not be the second pick. He's not slipping out of the second round, and he's fine. But again, I do think some teams will just put it this way, a little bit more critical of, the medical evaluations. He's not going to drop out of the side of the top 10. He's still going to be, I consider, a top 5 pick, top 6 pick at the
Is it
worst.
all medical? Or did the Wonderlic test hurt him?
Yeah. And then I also heard, for as much as I thought Tua, and until it happens, but, I heard, Ron Rivera is just, he loves the idea of being able to acquire a guy like Chase Young. What team wouldn't? I mean, Ron Rivera will not be alone in that assessment, but holding that second pick, I think it would be harder to pry Chase Young out of Washington, from what I heard, than possibly prying Joe Burrow out of Cincinnati with, leapfrogging to the 1. So as of this week, so close to the draft, it's going to have to be Burrow, Chase Young. And then I think that's where you kind of get into where the Lions, if a team still covets Tua or Herbert, that's where the Lions are the team that, the team that's going to be able to drop a little bit and gather picks. So
is Herbert, because of those medical questions, has he surpassed Tua as the number 2 quarterback?
From what I learned over the weekend, I think it just comes down to pure medical on Tua. I think the upside of Tua is what you're going to go on. His ability to be a very, very special player, I think, is what keeps him right in that top 5, top 6. But you are correct. I do think it's helped Justin Herbert kind of jockey, side by side, along, where Tua is going to be valued, if you will. And, what it looked like for the longest time, where it would be a slam dunk Burrow, Tua, Herbert. Now I think, granted, this is what I've heard, this is speculation, and every 32 team, what their office thinks about these guys is going to be different. But, put it this way. I mean, you might have a 50-50, 60-40, but, just say, a few months back, it probably been a 90-10, 10-0 type thing, or 100% where, Tua was definitely going to. But Thursday night, I think where they go, 5 or 6, 6 or 5, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Herbert gets the bump up, a slot or two ahead of Tua.
Bo, this is a very offensive lineman-heavy draft. A lot of teams will get better up front, won't they?
Yeah, and I think people are caught up in the receivers, but there's some really good offensive linemen out there, and I think it's the logical idea is you can get a very good offensive lineman in round 1 and still get a quality receiver in round 2. So I still think the offensive linemen are going to have their day in the first round, and these teams, if they're smart, you can walk away with a Jedrick Wills, and you could still get up a Laviska Shenault in the second round. You could get a Denzel Mims. You could get a Jalen Reagor from TCU. There's so many quality guys in this draft at the receiver position, and that's going to be harder to find when you go to the second round. That offensive tackle, that guard, that prominent guy that you're going to look to protect the offensive line, they're not going to be there. So I think the offensive linemen are going to go. You're probably possibly 6, maybe 7 offensive linemen go in the first round. And, and then it doesn't necessarily bump the top receivers out, but, you might not hear all the receivers that you may be seeing in mock drafts and things of that nature. You're going to see those guys drop, not because they're not worth it. It's just in terms of there's such depth at that position that, you can get a lineman that's really fantastic, and you can still get a fantastic receiver in the second round.
I've seen at least 6 O-linemen in most of these first-round mock drafts. Yeah. Wills, the kid from Alabama, is usually rated the highest.
He played right tackle in college. He'll play left tackle in the pros, but in effect, he was the blindside tackle for Tua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Becton, Wirfs, Jones, Andrew Thomas from Georgia. Like who do you think is the best guy from what you've watched?
You know what? I mean, I'm a sucker for Iowa guys. I mean, Tristan Wirfs a guy. I mean, I just kind of look at what
Me too.
Very rarely does a guy come out of Iowa as an offensive lineman and kind of not pan out. So I mean, I just like Wirfs. I like Andrew Thomas. And I think you got Mekhi Brown. I mean, there's so many guys out there that you can kind of look at and say, man, this is the team guy we want. So who I might prefer or somebody else may prefer, but I like Wirfs and I like Thomas a lot. I think those are two guys that, in my opinion, if
I
was
love
gonna
Kurt
grab one of those
Ferentz guys.
Yeah,
I
mean,
love Kurt Ferentz as the head coach, and that's his position.
Yeah, like I said, those guys, it's a good offensive line draft, and again, I mean, like I said, there's so many of them. That's what I mean. Got Austin Jackson, and you just but I think Thomas and Tristan Wirfs would be the two guys that I would personally want if I was doing it. And I'm glad you brought up. You think of Miami. If they're able to get Tua. And then you think, he's a left-handed passer, so that right tackle, when you think of right tackle, and Miami needs a tackle. So you think, sitting there with the 18th pick, they might have to move up. They might have to sacrifice that 26th pick or one of their twos to maybe move up and get that potential quarterback if it is Tua some help, because, that right tackle position is going to be the key position for them just because Tua is a left-handed thrower. So just something to think on draft night. If they do go Tua, you might want to think of that offensive line as something that they are in need of, and that right tackle position is going to be the position they need to satisfy most just because of Tua and the way he throws on the left side.
I think you all know by now how crazy I am about Chase Young. I clearly think he's going to be a star. No, there's no doubt in my mind about it. Obviously, he's the headliner for Ohio State. But in every mock draft, in the first 5 or 6 picks, is Jeff Okudah, who's the cornerback from that Ohio State team. Tell me about him. What makes him so good?
When you look at Okudah, one, you just look at Ohio State's had a good history of just developing defensive backs, and they've had it, under, Cooper. They've had it under Jim Tressel. It's continued, under Mervyn Meyer and Ryan Fields. When you look at Okudah, he's a speed guy. He can mirror guys, and the thing you love about him is he has the size where he's not going to be, physical receivers aren't going to be able to manhandle him. He's going to be able to take care of his own against almost any type guy. If you're going to have a small, shifty guy, he's good enough to cover those guys. He's powerful enough and strong enough to go against the big Julio Jones types guys. He's going to be able to, nobody's going to hang with a Tyreek Hill, but, he has that ability where you can put him on a guy like that and he's just not going to look, out of sorts. So, Okudah is a guy that everyone projects at the 3rd round, but you look at Denzel Ward. I think Denzel Ward was the highest drafted defensive back in like the last 20 years. So even if the Lions would stay at 3, and there's so many mock drafts with Okudah going to 3 to the Lions, I mean, that's really a stretch for them to take a defensive back that high. Not that it's out of question, but again, that's something to think about as draft night rolls around. Teams are so, finicky about where they should not or should take guys in terms of what their position says they are. So 3 might be a little bit of a stretch, as good as he is. And again, just kind of looking at how teams look at guys, and we did the same thing with Patrick Peterson years ago when he was coming out. I mean, the idea of him being the 1st overall pick as a defensive back or even 2nd was just something that you were not going to do. And and he ended up not slipping, but he wasn't that guy in those high rounds. But Okudah's going to be right there. You got Isaiah Simmons, you got Derek Brown. You look at the tackles. You got the 2 quarterbacks and Tua and Herbert. It's that top 5 to 6 is going to be so much fun to watch because it's been a long time. And, right now we assume Burrow's going to be 1. And it appears just because of the health of Tua, teams will not jockey to get to the 2nd spot. So that puts the Lions at 3. And then everything from the Lions down, you really just don't know who or where or who's going to move up the strike and take one of these guys. And we see it every year. We saw with the Chiefs moving up to get Patrick Mahomes. We know that same year the Saints wanted to try to move up and take him as well, but Andy Reid and company beat them to it. So, teams are always going to be lurking. We've heard teams that want to move up. Granted, it's the greatest poker game in the world, what we're going to watch Thursday night because you can't believe anything. But at the end of the day, expect a lot of action between 3 and probably even the 12. I think there's going to be a dynamic amount of trade teams, jockeying up and down in that 1st round Thursday night.
If they would let you, on or off the record, whose draft room would you like to be in the most?
In this virtual draft, I'm going to change things up because maybe in a virtual draft, Bruce Arians may be drinking a beer, so I might want to sit with Bruce Arians and do it with him. I don't know.
He's definitely going to be cussing.
Yeah, and under the virtual draft, I'm just again, I'm going out on a limb. I'd like to be with Bruce Arians because he might, be having some IPAs while he's, watching picks come off for the Bucks. But on a typical situation, I'd have to say the Steelers just because I cover the team and I'm around those guys, and I know a lot of the scouts for Pittsburgh, so to actually maybe see them in their environment doing what they do, I think for me that would just be a satisfactional thing, just to kind of see the guys that I know do what they do, and I think they do a good job of it.
I think I'd want to see the 49ers because the last couple of drafts they've been really smart. They snookered the Bears with Trubisky big time.
Yeah, I mean, new faces, and you think they got 2 picks, 13th and 31st. So I mean, they're a team that can move up, they can move down. You see so many receiver at the 13th slot. Again, I just think there's other holes to fill. They need Richard Sherman is not a young guy. I mean, I would look at if C.J. Henderson from Florida, the defensive back, is still on the board. I think a guy like him, I just think a defensive guy would be the logical one. I think receiver's the fun part, but again, it goes back to receiver depth in the second round. You just don't need to take these guys. And even to take a Ruggs or a Judy or a Lamb at 13, I mean, you can drop down to, where they're picking at the end of the first and still get a guy that's really good and also get, you could arguably get C.J. Henderson, who, absent of Okudah, is the second best, defensive back in this draft. So I just think that's a harder position to find late, compared to getting early. So, I mean, if I'm drafting, I'm taking the best of one of the positions, I guess, considering it, or getting the leftovers from another position. I'd rather have the top guy. I'd rather have the top linebacker than the 5th best defensive tackle, in my opinion. And that's how I would go through the round.
Bo, I would have lost.
I think, yeah. Go ahead.
I would have lost my bet on the team you picked, but you did qualify it with this year being extraordinary circumstances, and I understand why you want to see it with Bruce Arians, and also why you would say Pittsburgh with your relationships there. I thought you would have said Atlanta because I know how much you like Dimitroff.
Yeah, trust me. When you asked the question, I immediately thought Atlanta, Dimitroff. I mean, I did. I will not lie. In that split second, my mind said, okay, if I could be in any 32 of these war rooms, where are you going to go? And I thought, Atlanta, and then I thought Seattle, and and I was like, where would I like to go? And then I just figured, I would probably really enjoy going to Pittsburgh. And if I didn't, I couldn't imagine if that opportunity arose and I could pick any 32 of those teams to go visit and experience that. Maybe the shunning and the teasing and the harassment I might get from the Pittsburgh guys when they found out I chose another team to go watch. So kind of maybe being a homer there, but nonetheless, that would be the route I go. But you are good, Brett. You know me. I did think of Thomas Dimitroff and being in Atlanta because I do admire what he does as a GM role.
This year, the running back is in a position where I think, because of where he is in the game now, is probably more the rule. DeAndre Swift is the guy that I see the most likely to end up being a first-round pick. If he is he the best
Wisconsin back?
Is he the best running back in the draft?
In my opinion, yes. I mean, I do think Swift is the best running back.
Better than Taylor at Wisconsin.
Yeah, I do. I think so. Wisconsin just can run the ball. I mean, a lot of schools can run the football, but Wisconsin has done it so well at the collegiate level. So when I look at Jonathan Taylor, am I getting Monty Ball or am I getting Melvin Gordon? Am I getting Michael Bennett? Am I getting Ron Dane? So they have had prolific, historical running backs come out of Wisconsin that have put up just mind-boggling numbers. And this is nothing to take away from Taylor, but I just think at the end of the day, for me, I like the last several seasons in terms of how Georgia's been able to develop running backs. I mean, you look at Nick Chubb, you look at Todd Gurley. I mean, others that have come out of that program recently that have had success. So I kind of tend towards who has the hot hand. And in my mind, and I just like Swift. I mean, I think he's just built for the game. I think very highly of Cam Akers. I mean, when I look at what Cam Akers was able to do at Florida State, to me, his success is going to mirror and mimic what we'll see in the National Football League. Like a guy like J.K. Dobbins, when you watch him, he's a fabulous guy. I mean, he's short and he's stocky and he's so quick. He's like a dart. But oftentimes that offense at Ohio State, he's 5, 6, 7 yards upfield without being touched, and that's not going to happen. Those holes do not exist in the National Football League. But that's how Cam Akers was actually running behind a porous offensive line for the Seminoles. So those are the things I look at when I kind of start the evaluation with these guys. It's good that, that you play in these high offenses with, all these other guys that are 5-star guys. But then again, it kind of masks maybe some of the deficiencies that you may have. And, I don't put it this way. As much as I think Swift is the number one guy, I don't think he's to put it this way, he's not the Chase Young of running backs where, it's Chase Young and then everybody else. I mean, I think these guys are very, very close. And, a week from now, if you call me, I might be like, you know what, I got to put Dobbins in this role. But these guys are going to probably go in the second, third round. I don't know if any of them will get into the first. It'll be very team specific if they want a guy that bad. And but for all the people who love fantasy football, Friday night is going to be your night. You're going to have all those running backs and there's a bunch of receivers and tight ends coming off that board on Friday night in the second and third round.
And Bo, remember this about Cam Akers. He did play behind a terrible offensive line at FSU, largely a wasted college career. And he was a wishbone quarterback in high school in Clinton, Mississippi for the Clinton Arrows. So what will he maybe be when he finally gets behind a prolific line?
I think
he's just now learning the position.
Yeah, I think he can be as good as any of these other guys that we've mentioned in terms of Taylor or Swift or I think he's right there. I want to put Cam Akers out of the conversation to be one of the better running backs in this rookie class. I love what he did. Like I said, that line at Florida State was not good, and he churned out tough yards. Those are the yards that you have to gain in the National Football League, and that was who he was able to accomplish. So those guys are all close. You got Dobbins and Akers. You got Clyde. Edwards-Helaire from LSU. Put him in the mix there too. So Zach Moss. A guy a little probably late third round out of Utah. A guy that packs a lot of interesting characteristics that can make him special. It's just a matter of staying healthy and being consistent, and he can be a guy that we watch. But the one thing, and when you're not a first rounder, some of these positions, it's hard, and I've been. This is also the time right before the draft when I start looking back at all the other drafts and you start looking at all the names, and sometimes it's the whole entire second round, or could be an entire third round that's all successful or they're all failures. And that'll be the case in certain positions this year. There's going to be certain draft classes that really succeed, and some that kind of pale in comparison. But those four running backs are very, very close in terms of, skill set and how I think their production will be. But if I had to pick one, it's definitely DeAndre Swift.
Last thing, very quickly, back to where we kind of began. Will there be glitches, do you think, at this NFL draft?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Listen, you guys work in radio. I mean, how many times those things just have glitches? So I think with such a monstrous event, with such a monstrous event Thursday night, it might not be a catastrophic event, but to say it's going to go on without a glitch, I think would be a little far-fetched. I think we're going to have.
Bo, we will have a manned mission to Mars before we make a wireless microphone that works flawlessly.
Yeah, and you can't. Oh, yeah, you guys know. Microphones are such. Don't breathe on it too heavy. Don't touch it. Don't turn it.
Well, you're going to
don't look at it.
You're going to be using Webinar or Zoom or whatever the heck they're using. There's definitely going to be some stuff happening.
And I want to know, how many of these GMs, coaches? The younger guys I would assume are a little bit more computer savvy. How are these guys going to operate in terms of, getting this stuff done? Is there going to be assistants? Are they completely by themselves? There's a lot of questions I have in terms of, is being a computer savvy guy going to help you in this draft process?
Maybe. Bo, as always, thank you. We'll have answers when we talk next week.
Have a great week. Enjoy the draft, gentlemen. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you. We appreciate it. Always love chatting with our friend Bo Marchand from collegetopro.com. He's brought you in part by Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, that famous 16-point energy saver super tune-up that makes your system efficient, makes your system last longer, and keeps your system allowing your house to be cool in an efficient way every hot summer. What they do when you call 384-3511, and if you get in this week, the early bird for $57, otherwise it's $69. They come to your house, they put slippers on, they go into your utility room, and they start tuning up. There's 16 points that they make sure work well, then, and in harmony, then they will replace your filter. Then they will march out of your house, take off their little slippers, and go right to your outside unit or units, and they'll clean those up like taking the system to the car wash. They get out all the leaves and the grease and the grime. They actually will put a Teflon coating on your fan blades to make sure that it's protected from the hot summer. And then they put it all together, and the next thing you know, your house is cool, and it's saving you money because everything's efficient. And if you do this all the time, your system will last a lot longer. Please make the call, 384-3511, $57 this week, $69 if you procrastinate. So get in on the deal. Just call Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, the famous tune-up. We're back in a minute. We will replay a very interesting conversation we had with Dr. Frank Nassour on the mental impact that this pandemic is having in Shelby County and around the country. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry, and they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Bartlett Small Engine has free pickup and delivery both at your home and curbside for lawnmowers, blowers, edgers, and any small engine. Call 901-386-9779.
This is Eli Savoy from Sports 56 Middays. During this coronavirus pandemic, many of us are spending all day at home, and we remind you that you can stay in touch and connected through Sports 56. We're here live and local every day, keeping you informed and entertained as we all try our best to get through this healthy and safe. So turn us on your radio, computer, phone, or smart speaker and keep practicing social distancing. Stay home, stay informed, and stay entertained with Sports 56 and sports56whbq.com.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me Saturdays 8 to 9 a.m. for Sidelines here on Sports 56 WHBQ, 87.7 FM and 96.1. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, and your favorite team. Give us a call. That's Sidelines, Saturday mornings 8 to 9 a.m. Sidelines is presented by Duncan Williams Asset Management. So get up and give us a call.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Well, there has been some breaking news while we've been on the air today. We mentioned a little bit earlier, the mayor has come out and said he will not lift the safer at home rule that he's had in effect on May the 1st, the way some portions of the state of Tennessee, because the governor is listing it, they will be lifting it. He will not be. And this has just come out, breaking news, the 2020 Distinguished Citizen Award dinner honoring Peyton Manning and also the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Golf Classic have been postponed, and they're delayed a full year. They will reschedule, and Peyton's still coming, so that's good news. They've been postponed until next June 6th and 7th of 2021. We have talked for the last 5 weeks now about this pandemic, and we like to, at 3:30, chat with some people, replay it for all of you at 5:30. We've touched everything from the doctors and the mayors, and we've had economists on, and we've had reporters on. We really haven't touched on the mental health aspect of it all, and so we were very fortunate to catch up with Dr. Frank Masur, who got his doctorate from St. Louis University, did an internship at Duke, came to work for the Department of Family Medicine at the Tennessee Center for Health Sciences. He became a national speaker about mental health. He started a coaching of executives with a company called Excalibur. He has been privileged to work with executives at International Paper and AutoZone, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, Methodist Le Bonheur. He's written a book because he's worked a lot with undercover police personnel. Going Deep is the name of that book. Interesting stuff, and he took some time to chat with us a little bit earlier in the day. I guess my first question is, how busy are you? It seems that many people are affected by what is going on around them, and that maybe you are busier than normal.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dave. Actually, we are quite busy, and I think the reason for that is because this pandemic has brought about what I call a sense of dread. And dread, in my mind, is actually a combination of things. It's the feeling of loss or grieving, combined with incredible anxiety or anxiousness, coupled later with depression. And the fact is that we're facing an enemy, if you will, that is impossible to see. It's impossible to understand to some degree. And I think this brings about a sense of real fear or dread, or as some people have referred to it, panic. And I think it's interesting that we use the word panic in the word pandemonium and pandemic. The fact is that we all are feeling a bit panicky right now.
Dr. Masur, you almost just outlined the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I think we've all kind of wrestled with a little bit of those. I don't know if I've really had depression, but I know I've been through some denial. I know I've been plenty mad that my routine's been upset. Kind of bargained a little bit, and I've settled in with the not so warm acceptance at times.
You're absolutely right. And of course, the stages of death and dying came out of Kubler-Ross's famous work back in the 1960s, 69, I think it was actually. And she was misunderstood in one sense, Dave. She never meant for us to understand those particular stages to be in the order in which she wrote about them. People vacillate back and forth between them. For example, very often people start off with the shock and denial. They just can't believe this is really happening, or in the case of some people, they don't believe it's as serious as it really turned out to be. And then some people go right into anger. Why did this happen? Why did the country allow this happen? Why did our leaders let this happen? Why did the CDC and the FDA not be more on the ball? And so actually people move back and forth between these different stages. Now, Kessler, who actually worked with Kubler-Ross, in fact, was with her when she died later in the 90s from multiple strokes, he added another phase or another dimension, which people rarely talk about, and that is the dimension of meaning. You try to find some meaning in all of this, and sometimes that's very, very difficult to do. If you go back, however, and look at people who actually survived the Holocaust, one of the things that has been found over and over again is that they had some sense of purpose or meaning that mentally helped them survive the horrors of the Holocaust.
How would you steer somebody to meaning from this?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think people who are people of faith, whatever faith they may be, find it a little bit easier to find some meaning. I think one of the things that we find meaning in now is that many of the things that we've lost, including our work, our play, and those kinds of things, they start to fade into the background, and we begin to understand maybe a little better that relationships are really key. And they're really key in a number of ways, Dave. One of the things we've known for a long time, and this comes out of some work out of the University of Chicago, Susan Kolbas's work, that people who are well-connected socially have a health benefit from that. Now, some of your guys may not like to hear this, but guys actually get a health benefit from being married. Interestingly enough, women don't. But guys actually get a health benefit. And when you look at some of the research on men who are unmarried, and that's either remain single, they're now divorced, or even widowed, they don't fare as well health-wise. And one of the theories, of course, has been that because their wife, their girlfriend, their lover is oftentimes the hub of their social connections. Social connections turn out to be incredibly important in maintaining health. And one of the challenges of this thing is that we've been asked to back away from our social connections.
What do you say to people on establishing and keeping the routine, even though it has been very upset, all our routines have, from where we like to go to eat to going to our ball games? Dr. Masur, what would you say for someone to try to maintain or establish a new routine?
I think sometimes it's establishing a new routine, but a couple of things that I think make sense, and they may sound trivial, but they're really not. The person that's working out of their home, I don't think they should be in their robe and underwear. I think they need to get up. I think they need to shower and shave, put on work clothes, go into that office if there is one, and actually set aside some very specific time to do their work, including breaks, by the way. One of the things that this sounds counterintuitive, but it actually is very useful. I've used this a lot with patients, especially people with obsessive-compulsive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. It actually makes sense to set aside time to worry. We call it worry time. And you decide for yourself, how much time does this really deserve? It may deserve an hour. It may deserve 45 minutes. It may deserve even more or less. And what you do is you actually set aside the time, turn off your phone, turn off the radio, turn off the TV, turn off your computer, and actually sit there for that period of time and obsess about this stuff. Now, here's the good news and here's the bad news. The moment you do that, you take control over the worrying. You actually control it. It's not controlling you. The real good news is, as you come to the end of that hour or whatever the time frame is, and you still have more stuff to worry about, you can always remember that you've got another time scheduled, and you can then enjoy the time in between.
We are talking with Dr. Frank Masur on the mental health aspect of the pandemic. A lot of people have talked about this pandemic as another, or this generation's Pearl Harbor, or the new 9/11. Are there any similarities with these catastrophic events?
I think there are, but I also think there are some profound differences. Both Pearl Harbor, of course, and 9/11 were acute stressors. They happened very suddenly. Of course, the ramifications afterwards went on for months, if not years. This actually falls more, Dave, into the area of chronic stress. You mentioned earlier my work with the police department. Imagine the different kinds of stress that the SWAT team has versus the regular officer on the street versus the undercover cop. I would argue that the SWAT team has intense pressure, but it's from time and again. It's not every single day. The cop on the street may not have quite the intensity that the SWAT team has, but he or she has a number of stressors that come throughout the day. My undercover cops, unfortunately, and that's why we wrote the book, they're sort of under stress the entire time they're undercover. And so this is chronic stress. Acute stress is different. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, you're peaked into action. Chronic stress actually wears you down. It's like being nibbled to death by ducks, as one of my officers said, or being killed by a 1,000 paper cuts. Chronic stress sets into motion a thing we call conservation withdrawal. You hunker down, your heart rate actually drops, your blood pressure drops, and you actually find yourself almost immobilized. If you think about it in the wild, that actually makes perfect sense for an animal that's been separated from its group. You yell and scream for a while, that's the panicky part. But after a while, if that doesn't work, your best approach is to lie very, very still.
And you talk about the chronic aspect of it, Dr. Masur. For so many of us, I think for all of us, This story really has been the same story every day for 6 weeks.
Absolutely. And if you go to the work on Marty Seligman and learned helplessness, this is a classic example of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness came out of the notion that if you administered an aversive stimulus, say an electric shock or strobe lights or loud noises to an animal that could not predict it and could not control it, within a matter of a few days, less than a week, the animal began to display symptoms that look very much like depression. In fact, when you sacrifice those animals later and look at their brain chemistry, it actually shows the same brain chemistry changes that we see in people with clinical depression. That's why I think we really need to take time to turn it off. You need a break from it. If you don't, it becomes like, and no pun intended, the Chinese water torture. It's drip, drip, drip on your forehead, and after a while it begins to feel like a sledgehammer. You do have some control. Set aside some time to turn it on. Set aside some time to turn it off.
We are a sports show, and we have talked a bunch about how we miss sports. ESPN just did a whole big thing, a promo about we miss it too. Does losing spectator sports affect people?
Oh, absolutely, and I'll tell you why. I'm not a Freudian, but I do believe one thing Freud had right. He was asked just before he died what made for a balanced life, and he said to work, to love, and to play. Now, Freud was an atheist, so he missed one. I think he missed pray as well. But if you look at play, I think that's one of the most important aspects of human beings' lives. It's cross-cultural. Every culture you've ever looked at, anthropologists have studied, has some form of play, some form of sports, if you will. And the moment we've already lost work, right? We've actually lost a lot of the things we love. You mentioned it a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. We've also lost this sense of play. And whether it's, playing golf or whether it's playing football or watching people play football or basketball or whatever, we've lost that. And that is a real loss that people begin to feel. Not to mention they feel the loss of the identity of their sports team. Remember, a lot of people, when they look at sports, and I saw this when I was at Marquette, I saw it later when I was at Duke, they really identify with their sports teams. And that's not true in all sports, but it's true in team sports. And people really identify with their team. I want my Pittsburgh Steelers to beat your Dallas Cowboys. I really do. The fact of the matter is, though, you take that away, and I know it sounds almost trivial, but it's not. You take away some part of people's identity.
Yeah, we want to be a part of something.
We do. And call it tribal, call it teamwork, call it whatever. Now, I do find it interesting, those sports that are individual sports like golf, Formula One racing, boxing, whatever, you don't see people dressing up in the colors of that particular competitor. But when it's team sports, we really, really want to feel part of that team.
When we come back, and I feel certain we will. I don't know if that means when a vaccine is found or treatments are found, or we just decide we're opening things up and taking the chance, and I don't know how all that plays off. But when we do, how quickly do we get back to where we once were, if we do, to that normalcy?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I do think, however, that watching sports in a large company of friends and family is going to be probably one of the last things that's going to come back. And one of the questions that I'm struggling with is, what about sports? Could you imagine having a team playing another team with no spectators? I would think that would be very, very difficult for the players. And I think it would change forever the complexion of the game. I think it's going to take a while for us to get back. I hope that we learn from this. The fact is, back in 2006, there was a commission that actually identified many of the risk factors that we're dealing with now. I would hope that saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I would hope that actually will play a role here. If you look at successful athletes, and Bob Rotella, who's a sports psychologist, has looked at this, the successful athletes have a couple of things in common. Number one, they have really, really bad memories for bad shots. They remember things they did well, but when they threw that interception or when they hit the ball into the sand trap, they quickly forget about it in the sense that they don't let that influence the next shot. They don't let it influence the next pass. And so he talks about how sometimes having a, quote, bad memory for bad things is actually pretty good. The second thing they do is they don't take it personal. The fact is that, when Brady throws an interception, he doesn't blame it on Tom Brady. He blames it either on his receiver who didn't run the right pattern, or he blames it on the defense who actually stepped in front. They don't blame themselves. They don't take it personally. They also don't make it permanent. They don't stand there and say, I'll never be able to throw a pass again, or I'm a lousy player. Phil Mickelson, the golfer, often talks about that there are birdies in the bushes. And what he means by that is even when he hits the darn ball into the woods, he still thinks he can get a birdie out of that hole.
I think we from the bushes here psychologically can get birdies if we just take it day to day. And according to you, maintain really good social connections, relationships, and we should be all okay. Huh?
I think you're absolutely right.
Doctor, thank you so much. You really answered a bunch of good questions, and I hope some people feel a little bit more upbeat after listening to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the help.
That is Dr. Frank Masur.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First Bank text line.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Limb Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Limb Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
To yours, Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
For a lot of us now, it seems like our biggest decision of the day is which combination of Tommy John underwear and loungewear should I wear. It doesn't matter which combo I pick, because so long as I'm wearing Tommy John underwear, I'm guaranteed to feel comfortable and look great. Wore it last night. For a limited time, go to TommyJohn.com, get 25% off your order with the code HERD, H-E-R-D. That's the code HERD, TommyJohn.com. Go to their site, check them out for all the details.
Bria's Fashion Boutique is the worst. First, they asked me if I needed help finding anything. Just because I'm gorgeous doesn't mean I need help.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
Then they tell me they're having a sale. Oh, so you're assuming I'm poor. Cool.
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Also, they tried to give me the friends and family discount. I'm not your friend, so...
Get a quote online today at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Final segment on this glorious Tuesday afternoon. Some sad news, though. Dennis Bradshaw, who played quarterback for the U of M in the late 1970s, has died of COVID-19 in Detroit. He died Saturday at the age of 62. Bradshaw and his wife Connie moved to the Detroit area about 3 decades ago, where he worked as a customer service agent, first for Northwest and then for Delta. I know Kevin Kane, who's going to be a guest with us later in the week, had talked a little bit about him to me earlier, said he was really a terrific guy, and just a sad, sad loss. Our thoughts and prayers to any of his friends from here or to his family. Crunch time in a minute. I'll let you know this portion of the show brought to you by Genesis of Olive Branch and Homer Skelton Hyundai. Same place, same great dealership. The standard, in my opinion, of the way car business should be done, and full of incentives at the moment. 0% financing for 84 months on select models. We're talking Genesis, like my G70, Or we could be talking about a Hyundai 0% for the life of the deal, 84 months and 120 days to make the first payment on any of their select models. So you don't pay any interest for 84 months, and you don't have to pay for the first 3 months. They want to make you sort of want to come see their product. And once you get there, you'll fall in love. These cars last forever. A 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every car on the lot. Please go see him in Olive Branch. That's Genesis of Olive Branch and Homer Skelton Hyundai. It's crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Dave learned today that I still loved it when Mike Curtis laid out the clown that ran out on the field during the Colts-Dolphins game. Mike Curtis passed away at 77. Boy, he cold-cocked that guy good. He needed it. Some are saying Mike Curtis in the Hall of Fame. I never thought of that. Did you?
No, I did not, but I do remember that hit. No doubt about it. I learned today Major League Baseball is working on now a 3-state setup with Texas joining Florida and Arizona. They would play in major and minor league facilities. No fans. They weren't sure. 10 teams in each region. How many games? They didn't define any of that. But I think, as Rob Manfred said, we're working on a lot of things, but we have no definitive answers.
Could have done without any Draymond KG drama. It's just like pure children, and I'm so sick of both of them. You knew it was coming. I'm surprised there hadn't been more of it up to now. You didn't hear a lot of it when it was there. It was simmering. I could not be less interested in the subject.
I could have done without, I guess, the news that Sam Mitchell is going to be the coach of the new G League select team. You know who he beat out for the job?
I don't.
David Fizdale. So there was a Memphis connection for the coach.
Well, Sam Mitchell brought a player. He brought Jalen Green.
He did. He brought Jalen Green. Hey, he's now going after Greg Brown. Let's see what happens. But, crazy.
It is. Keeping a close eye on a couple things tonight. Between now and Thursday, we will hear just about every trade rumor going for the NFL. Might even hear Gronk and Brady being packaged in some deal. Maybe not. Also, after Thursday night, NFL's on the clock. Hall of Fame game will be up next. This could be the last NFL event of this year. And I love the brainstorming that Major League Baseball is doing. There's a lot of great minor league ballparks. The one right outside of Austin, the one right outside of Dallas at Frisco. I don't know about San Antonio's, though, but you bring in the retractable roof of the new stadium with Texas, retractable with the Astros. Maybe a third site would be a good option. I hope so.
I have no idea how they would do it. So there's 2 domes, right? I don't think they could play in San Antonio in that dome, could they?
No. Where the Missions play. No, I don't think they could play at the dome in San Antonio.
Right.
And I don't think the Missions ballpark is up to standards. But I guess in the big league ballparks, you could have 2-3 games a day, play 10, 2, and 6.
You could.
Yeah.
You could. Absolutely.
Wow.
We got to thank Frank Masur, the psychologist. That was really good stuff. Brent Beard, Mickey Barker, Beau Marchand. Tomorrow we have one of the best shows that I can remember putting together. Steve Cohen will lead us off at 3:30. TJ Reeves, Rick Horrow, and Jimmy Sexton. That should be interesting for sure. I do hope that Frank Masur talked about connections. We as people love being with other people. There is no doubt about that. So think about that tonight and tell somebody, or maybe you haven't talked to somebody in a long time, call them and tell them how you feel about them. Best way, I guess, we can end this show, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced